Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and ServPro.com.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the #1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
Hello everyone, welcome live to 3Wide TV. It's tonight's broadcast of the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series Glassdoor Brewing Dash for Cash 200. $25 on the line for tonight's winner, and if you're one of those Glassdoor Brewing drivers, an extra 25 in the pot as well. So we could see a driver walk away with $50 here tonight. Very, very excited for 200 miles around the Chicagoland Speedway. I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth here tonight is Greg Renson. Greg, this racetrack, it's unique because it has a curved back straight, and it's one of those racetrack a lot of drivers enjoy coming here because it is very, very fast, and it is a driver's racetrack. Out of the 1.5 miles, this is one of the drivers' favorite because it's unique. There's different lines that you can run, and I'm expecting to see a good show here tonight.
I'm glad you mentioned the curved backstretch, Peter, because one of the biggest arguments about this track is it's just another cookie-cutter track. This is not the case here. That curved backstretch adds a little bit of character to this track. You don't see that anywhere else on the Cup circuit except for right here at Chicagoland. And going back to what you said about the multiple grooves of racing, we've seen it time and time again. This track can put together some of the best racing of the season in the NASCAR Cup Series, so I know that this date was scheduled on the circled on the schedule of a lot of these drivers because they know that this race is going to be one of the better races of the season. And Peter, track temperature here as we get set to qualify is 117 degrees. So it is a hot and slippery one. And we all know, we've seen it time and time again in Chicago. When it's hot outside and the track is hot, it is fun for us watching because these guys are going to be slipping and sliding all over the place, trying to get this thing to go around the track 134 times tonight. It is going to be something special here tonight.
Absolutely, and the man who was fastest in practice, Alex Giese, he was actually the pole sitter a couple weeks back at a very similarly shaped racetrack at Kansas Speedway, getting his second pole of the season there, also starting on the pole back at Daytona to start off the 2020 Hacksaw PC season. That number 77 definitely been fast in qualifying, but he has had difficulty backing that up in the race with only 2 top 20 finishes to his credit this year. There he is. Seems like he's always the center of bad luck. We'll have to see how he can do here in the qualifying session. But as I mentioned, we are many rounds now into the Hacksaw PC season. Let's see if we can bring up the current point standings, because John Jenkins is currently sitting atop the board with only 1 win to his credit. Greg Evans right behind it, 6 wins to his name, just 33 markers back. Tyler Seville, third in the point standings. Mitch Brown sitting in 4th. Michael Krobach in 5th. Brian Yazek 6th. Jimmy McKee 7th. Will Worsler 8th. Troy Haight 9th. And Jason Stewart round out your top 10. But you can see a lot of those drivers up there towards the top, getting a little bit closer to John Jenkins, and there's definitely a gaggle of cars now in points from second back to around the sixth position, Greg. And I'll tell you, that is really a spot where we've seen a lot of hot drivers this year, a lot of drivers kind of contending with one another for points, and I'm expecting to see that battle continue as this season continues on. Here we go into the qualifying session now. If you're watching us in the chat, make sure you make yourself heard. We got James Crable in the chat right now, rooting on the Glassdoor Brewing family of drivers, saying get it done here tonight. Like we mentioned, if you are a Glassdoor Brewing family driver and you win tonight, you get $50, and if you're not, you get $25 for taking home the checkered flag. So we'll have to see how that all plays out, but we got cars out on this racetrack here, Greg.
Qualifying underway here at Chicagoland, Peter. 10-minute qualifying session. Each driver is going to get 2 laps to try to put their best time on the board. As you're taking a look at the 66 of Ed Bray coming around to complete his first qualifying lap, and he will go second at a 30.653, exactly 3/10 off of current quick time Chris Bouchard, a 30.353, the number 50, and he's got a couple of poles this season, Peter. So Bouchard in the number 50 showing some speed in the qualifying session, but hasn't really been able to piece it together in the race just yet. But we know that 50 car has a lot of speed right now. Tyler Seville in second, and over the last couple of weeks, dating back to his win at Michigan, I've been very impressed with how Tyler Seville has been able to gather some momentum for himself. The win at Michigan followed up, Peter, by a great run at Sonoma, and he just went to the top of the boards on his second lap, 30.242. So Tyler Seville showing a lot of speed right now in this Will Borsler Racing entry.
But what about the man who's 5th place in points right now? Michael Krobach in the number 72 machine. He's gone to top of the charts in the HPPsimulations.com for a great run for him. And here's the fastest man in practice a little while ago, Alex Giese, going around trying to see if he can get his 3rd pole of the season in that number 77 machine, working his way through turn number 3 and 4 right now, right down to that white line. We'll see drivers all over this racetrack when we get to the race. There's really about 2 to 2.5 grooves that you can work your way around this racetrack. The 77 of Giese gonna slot into the 10th position right now. There's the number 14 working his way around the racetrack. That's AJ Digby working his way now into turn number 1 and 2. We'll have to see what he's going to do here. You see him running a little bit higher up on the racetrack, Greg, and we've seen that with this package. You can kind of run up close to the wall to get a very, very fast second lap. So I'm expecting to see Digby cut it down to the bottom on lap number 2. Here he is coming out of turn number 4 to complete his first lap. Here's the number 8, Jimmy McKee, in the McKee Lawn Care Services number 8 machine. He's going to come to the stripe here. Love the racing stripes on that number 8 machine. Very classic paint scheme on that number 8 machine. Very striking. Love the looks of it. Here's the number 2 machine, Greg Evans. 6 wins to his name. Almost won last week at Sonoma. And I'll tell you, not a lot of people were expecting Greg Evans to be fast at Sonoma. But Greg, he was very, very quick there.
Yeah, Greg Evans is a guy you always have to factor in no matter what. We saw that proved to us last week at Sonoma. 6 wins on the year, but we thought the road course was going to possibly be a roadblock for him. But no, he went out and just did his thing, and there it was once again up on the podium in the top 2 as we go on board now with Mitch Brown in the number 51. Greg Evans coming off turn number 4 to complete his qualifying lap. 24th on the first lap, 30.436. Looking for a pickup here on lap number 2. Jumps into the top 10 at a 30.257. New man on top of the charts, John Jenkins at a 30.168. He's on top. So the points leader, John Jenkins, quick time right now in the number 7 car with Michael Krobach in second. And Krobach has had some speed in that 72 in qualifying the last couple of races. Set the pole at Michigan, and here he is on the front row right now once again here at Chicagoland with just a couple of cars left to go out there. I actually believe that Brandon Stokes will be one of the final cars to take time in the number 9, as it looks like everyone else has just about made it in here.
Mitch Brown there in the number 51 machine. He's going to jump up into the top 5. He's going to go 4th in the Glassdoor Brewing machine. He's going to let that car coast back to pit road. Here is, I believe that was a quick look that we saw of Mr. James Lorello, one of the other Glassdoor Brewing machines. He's going to wind himself onto pit road here, getting a little bit of pit road practice under this qualifying session. Good news for that number 3 machine, solidly in the field here tonight. We actually do have a full field of cars in this race. We didn't have a full field last week at Sonoma, but this week back to a full 40 cars on the grid, and no drivers serving a suspension this week due to strikes. The number 6 machine of Jared Haggerty did have to sit out last week at Sonoma. Surprisingly, though, the number 6 is not in tonight's field either, nor is last week's race winner Pete Baskins. And Greg, I'm sure, excuse me, not Pete Baskins, Nicholas Curling. I get my numbers all mixed up there, but Curling was very, very fast last week at Sonoma. Just dominated that race, led pretty much every single lap, and he definitely one of those road course ringers. Trying to get it done this season on the ovals. Hasn't quite had the success he was hoping for, but last week Nicholas Curling was the talking point. Nick Curling was just so fast, Greg.
Yeah, he had a lot of speed in his car, Peter, and I'm honestly kind of surprised to see him not in the field today because he had a lot of speed last week, and you knew he was going to be able to carry some momentum over. But Peter, I just noticed our pole sitter John Jenkins is having connection issues, and he has temporarily fallen out of the session. That is your pole sitter and points leader, John Jenkins. Connection issues have for the moment dropped him out of the session. We will see if he's able to get back in before grid time, but that is a big developing story that we're watching on the number 7 car. Fast time and current points leader right now, currently not in the session after connection issues.
Yeah, and Christopher Bouchard, I think he realized that John fell out and he went, uh-oh. So that could be a talking point here at the start of the race. Will your pole sitter make it back in time or not? We will see. But I gotta say, Greg, I'm excited for this race here tonight. They do have a tire limit. In fact, that tire limit was relaxed this week. They usually only get 3 sets of tires. The set of tires they start on and 2 fresh sets on pit road. This week they actually have 3 sets of tires sitting on pit road. So a little bit of a relaxation of that rule. And Greg, that could be interesting. That could definitely play into effect here tonight with the tire wear and who decides to come down pit road and when.
Absolutely, Peter. The tire management is just so key here because the longer you get into the run, especially with how hot it's going to be here in this race, taking another look at the track temperature, still 117 degrees. That is going to eat these tires up, along with this old racing surface, the slipping and sliding they're doing already on an old racing surface. Throw in the heat, these tires are going to get eaten alive. So tire management is going to be so important here in this race, especially in the middle portion of the race when you're trying to set yourself up for that run to the end. The tire limit rule is just something that makes the ASRS so unique and so much fun. And it puts a real game changer into this that you don't see in other series, Peter. You don't see these guys having to play the tire conservation game because most leagues don't have the tire limit. So every time a caution comes out, you can just come in, put on 4 Mr. Feelgoods and get going. That's not an option here. So the tire management is going to be very, very important here, and we will see some different strategies on that throughout the course of the day, I'm sure.
Another thing that's a little bit unique to the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series is the fact that it's a full field of cars, and you actually have to qualify to get into these races if you're not in the top 20 in points. And the battle for the 20th spot in points right now is very, very tight. You have Ed Bray on 294 points, 1 point above Richard Stallings in 20th. Tony Schoen, he's just 2 points behind Stallings. He's the first man not locked into the show. Jared Haggerty, he missed last week due to a suspension, not in tonight's race either. He comes into tonight just about 20 points behind Richard Stallings. And then you have Sam Crow, who is in the field here tonight in the number 5 machine, trying to make up ground on the 20th position of Richard Stallings. So that's going to have to be something we also keep an eye on. It's kind of a battle within a battle. And I'll tell you what, Greg, we did see for a brief moment John Jenkins made it back into the session. Well, if you're a John Jenkins fan, he has fallen out again. He's made it back into the session, but we're gridding already. We'll have to see whether or not he can get the car presented in time to get down onto pit road to actually start from the pole position. If he does not make it to his position in time, everyone on the inside groove will move up one spot. So we'll have to see. Hopefully he can, and hopefully he can start the race in his number 7 machine from the pole. And speaking of the pole, why don't we go through tonight's starting lineup here at the Chicagoland Speedway for the Glassdoor Brewing Dash for Cash 200. John Jenkins, question mark, will he start on the pole? Will he not? We'll wait and find out, but to his outside will be Michael Krobach in the HVPSimulations.com Ford, that number 72 machine. Right behind them on row number 2 on the inside, Craig Sykes in the number 57. He's been putting together some good runs as of late in that car. And to his outside, the reigning Hacksaw PC Series champion, the number 51 of Mitch Brown. Row number 3 is made up of AJ Digby, who has had some fantastic qualifying runs since his start of his Premier Series campaign in the number 14 machine. And to his outside, Will Worsler Racing owner in the number 29 machine. Right behind him, one of the other Will Worsler Racing machines, Doug Mullins in the number 18, and to his outside, the number 53 of John Broussard, rounding out row number 4. If you look up there at the front, John Jenkins has finally made it to the grid, so that is good news for him. On row number 5, we have the number 11 machine of Tyler Seville, comes into tonight third in points, and to his outside, the second place man in points, Greg Evans. Greg.
Starting off in row number 6 is Jonathan Holstein, running about half the races this season in the number 73, qualifies in the 11th spot. Troy Haight, who is trying to get back some of that magic he had at Dover with the second place run, he will start in 12th. Cody Spiker has had a few good runs this season in the number 19. Will roll off in position number 13 with Michael Whiting to his outside in the number 44. Alan Young, always a threat to win, still looking for that Hacksaw PC's Premier Series breakthrough victory, but got the win in the Throwback Series at North Wilkesboro a couple weeks ago, 15th position. To his outside, Jason Stewart, who turned so many heads with a bold move at Charlotte last month in 16th. Christopher Bouchard rolling off in the 17th position in the 50. To his outside, Sam Crow in the number 5. Alex Giese, fastest in practice, missed it in qualifying, will start 19th with Grant Brown rounding up the top 20, Peter.
James Lorello and Jimmy McKee will start on row number 11. Chris Hughes and Kelsey Rogers will start from row number 12 behind them. Starting in the 25th position will be Edward Bray, and to his outside, the Beef Jerskies number 69 of Adam Jerski. Starting in the 27th position, Pete Baskins and John Van Varellis from 28th. Richard Stallings and Jay Crable round out your top 30. Tim Knott, Woody Mahan, 31st and 32nd. Todd Kirkwood, Christopher, 33rd, 34th. Richard Fletcher and Tony Schoen, 35th and 36th. Remember, Schoen trying to get into the top 20 in points. John Gallagher and J.R. Bash, 37th, 38th. And rounding out your field here tonight, Brian Yazik as well as Brad Lee. That will be the 40 cars that will start tonight's event. The number 7 machine finally did show up. That is John Jenkins in that machine, waiting for the green flag to fly here at the Chicagoland Speedway. And there it is, 200 miles, 134 laps around this mile-and-a-half racetrack. Who will win the Dash for Cash? And a little bit of chaos towards the back of the pack. That looked like Todd Kirkwood there going below the white line, but they get everything sorted out here. And looks like up at the front, the number 7 machine was able to clear the number 72 to his outside.
Craig Stykes with him into number 57. Stykes has had quite a few good runs, like you've mentioned, Peter, in that Will Worsler racing car, and he's going to make a move for the lead here, and he's going to get a big run through 3 and 4. Boy, Craig Stykes carrying the momentum like he was shot out of a cannon. Craig Stykes is going to lead lap number 1. It's a Hornets Nets behind him.
Yeah, and I don't think John Jenkins will be all too upset with how this has gone here in the early going. I'm sure he wanted to lead the first lap, though. But you have to think, Greg, John Jenkins is one of those drivers, he doesn't often put the car on the pole. He's one of those drivers who likes to take his time and slowly make his way through the field. This week, he's, I think, tried a different strategy. Hey, let me go for the pole. Let me try and start up at the front. But he's one of those drivers who is patient. Him losing the lead at this point in the race, he's not going to be overly concerned with that. He's just going to try and ride, get some laps in, conserve those tires as this run goes on. We got some good side-by-side action there right around the number 51 of Mitch Brown. Tyler Seville in the number 11 to his inside. Looks like the 51's going to get the run around the top side, and we're going to see that a lot here tonight, Greg. That outside is pretty strong. It is pretty powerful here at Chicagoland Speedway. You can make a pass up there, especially if you can get some draft off of some of the cars in front of you. Down the front stretch, as you see Alan Young slot his way up into the 11th position, I do believe. So good start for Alan Young. You mentioned him, Greg, that he won last week's the Boswell's Country Roads Thursday Night Throwback Series. And remember, we have that again this week, so make sure you tune in on Thursday night here for more American Sim Racing Series action. Trying to go 2 for 2 in that number 24 machine, but I'll tell you what, good start for him here tonight in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series.
Good start for Alan Young, already up 4 positions from his qualifying time, trying to track down Greg Evans in the number 2, who has far and away been one of the top drivers in the series this year, Peter. So you got Alan Young, who's been very strong, still trying to break through, trying to track down Greg Evans in the 10th position and go after him for that top 10 position. Field going single file right now. John Jenkins has got back up on the bumper of Craig Stykes, is kind of just riding out about a car length behind. But remember, Peter, John Jenkins is fighting connection issues. If this is your first time watching an iRacing broadcast, connection issues is basically iRacing's version of motor problems, if you will. You're having problems, the connection's having trouble staying with it, and that could cause them to fall out of the race and out of the server, much like motor problems in real life. So we're keeping an eye on that number 7 of John Jenkins and seeing how it's going. So far, so good. So hopefully it looks like whatever connection issues that have been going on seem to have been addressed here. 6 coming to 7 laps on the board right now, but it has been interesting so far for Jenkins after setting the pole. He's your current points leader, remember, so we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, battle breaking out for third, Michael Krobach, who has been very impressive the last couple of weeks, climbing up into the third spot, getting around AJ Digby.
Yeah, he just went down to the inside and went around Digby in that number 14 machine, but they're just trying to ride. Remember, Krobach was the outside pole sitter. He got shuffled back there right on the race start, trying to make up a little bit of ground. If you're in the chat, make sure you make yourself heard. We got a pretty active chat here tonight. I want to give a shout out to Ann Cathy. She said this is my very first iRace. I can tell you that is not true. Savannah Morris in the chat as well. Nikki Warser, Seth Olson, Kevin Volmer, Jim Foos saying, hey, how's it going? Stephen Stanley rooting on the number 41 machine. Of course, the number 41 driven by Tim Knott. Currently, Tim is back in the 32nd position. Actually, a little bit of damage on that number 41 machine. Not 100% sure where that came from. Let's see if we can put the camera on that number 41 machine, but it looks like he's got a little bit of front end and rear end damage. That might have happened on the start back when we saw one car, the number 86 of Todd Kirkwood, go down below the apron, but I do believe that number 41 is going to struggle with all that damage, and it just sucks that he gets it at this point in the race, Greg. I mean, that's one thing that as a driver, you're now stuck with that damage the entire night long. Yes, you can come down and get some of it fixed, but you know they won't get it all fixed.
Yeah, no. This is a series with no fast repairs, Peter. More on that in a second. Real quick, just checking in up front. John Jenkins has gotten the lead from Craig Stykes going into turn number 1 last time by, so he will lead his first lap of the day. Craig Stykes leads the first 8 laps. John Jenkins gets the lead on lap number 9, so he will begin his lead, as I believe he is going to try to pull away, as we saw there, the pass on the replay. So John Jenkins to the lead after starting on the pole. But going back to your point there with the damage, Peter, this series does not have fast repairs. So most series you also typically have a fast repair, maybe 2 if it's a series that's a little bit more lenient on that. ASRS, no sir. If you get damage, you're going to treat it like a real race, and you're going to have to fix it manually. So that throws another wrinkle into this race. And if you get damage this early in the race, you don't want it. As a battle breaking out for the lead once again, John Jenkins got close to the wall, and Craig Stykes sniffed it out. And Craig Stykes is going to go back to the lead just 2 laps later. Craig Stykes back to the lead. We'll see if he's able to hold off Jenkins, who gets a good run through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line, Craig Stykes is going to lead the lap, but Jenkins is right on the back bumper of him, Peter, as a side-by-side battle breaks out for third. Digby to the inside now of Krobach trying to get third spot back. Good action going on here at the front early.
Yeah, great battles right up the front of the pack. Here comes the number 18, Doug Mullins, going underneath the number 72 of Krobach. Now Krobach's kind of been shuffled up to that high side. And definitely the high side is strong in turn number 1 and 2, folks, but it isn't very strong in turn number 3 and 4. And you see the number 14 of AJ Digby, he got a little bit up out of the groove. He's going to actually lose a spot to Doug Mullins. So Digby looked like he had taken the 3rd position back. Now he's all the way back to where he was a lap ago in the 4th position. And here comes Will Worsler in the number 29 machine, making up ground on the inside. And he's trying to pull Mitch Brown in the number 51 with him, as well as the number 2 of Greg Evans. Great racing here. Lots of side-by-side action. I mentioned this at the top of the show, that this is a racetrack that a lot of drivers enjoy racing at because it does produce a lot of side-by-side action, especially with this current cup package for the first 10 to 15 laps.
I call it cookie cutter all you want. This track is the furthest thing from cookie cutter. Just the side-by-side action and the old surface and the heat coming in, they all factor together into some spectacular racing. Look how far back, though, Michael Krobach has fallen after getting stuck on the outside there, Peter. He was up in 3rd when that battle broke out. He just lost 9th position to Tyler Seville. Is now going to lose 10th to Alan Young. Actually, he's going to fall to 10th in the 72. He was 3rd just a couple laps ago when that battle broke out. He got freight trained there. He's going to fall all the way back to 10th and under pressure now from Troy Haight in the number 28. So Michael Krobach suddenly has work to do to get himself back up there, having a great run. But man, oh man, Krobach falling back in a hurry after getting shuffled back there, Peter. Not sure if maybe he caught the wall or not, but something definitely happened to the 72 as he got stuck on the outside there as it settles down single file. And now John Jenkins is beginning to become the meat in a Will Worsler Racing sandwich right now up there in the 2nd spot as Doug Mullins is broken away from the rest of the battle. He's beginning to close in to make it a 3-car battle for the lead.
And another driver that we have to keep an eye on, we mentioned him a couple times here tonight, Alan Young, biggest mover in the top 10 now. He's up to 8th. He's gained 7 spots from the start of this race. And here comes Mitch Brown now looking underneath the number 14 of AJ Digby. I said that outside groove isn't very good in turn number 3 and 4. You really want to be down there on the white line. Mitch Brown trying to use that white line. He pushed up just a little bit. Digby trying to pinch him down there to thwart the momentum of that number 51 machine, and Digby now still holding on to that spot here as they go off into turn number 1, but they are side by side here right through the center of the corner. 51 gets a little bit of a better roll through the center of the corner. Digby now able to use that momentum from that high line, but you can see, Greg, they're just losing a ton of time to the cars in front of them here racing side by side.
It's a great battle and it's fun to watch, but like you said, they are losing the time to those cars in front of them. 3 Will Worsler Racing cars have broken away along with John Jenkins now as Will Worsler has pulled up on the back bumper now and trying to reel in Doug Mullins into number 18. So John Jenkins is surrounded by Will Worsler Racing right now, but he's not letting it get to him as he is still going to work on Craig Steigs. Very good performance so far out of that 57, Craig Steigs. Remember, he was so close to breaking through at Talladega and came up just shy of pulling that one off, and has really done a good job running here in the number 57 as of late. Qualified in 3rd position, got out to the lead on lap number 1, has looked very strong since then, but John Jenkins with a run now on the outside trying to get the lead back. He led 2 laps earlier in the day trying to get it back on the outside now, but this is going to allow Doug Mullins to close in and make it a 3-car battle once again as Jenkins falls in.
And I'll tell you what, we just had a huge moment in turn number 3. The number 51 of Mitch Brown got a little bit of a nudge, a little bit late on the backstretch from the number 14 of AJ Digby, and the number 51 had to slide it through turn number 3. He was able to catch it. There you see it on the replay. Good job of him catching. You see him still trying to catch it. Goes up the racetrack to let the car kind of woe down a little bit. Mitch Brown going to hold on to that 5th spot, but Greg Evans in the number 2 has moved up into 6th. And remember, Greg, Evans won the race a couple weeks back at Kansas, and Kansas is a racetrack fairly similar shape to this one. I know that one's kind of a highline racetrack here in the iRacing service, but a very similar shape, and all of a sudden Greg Evans starting to make some noise here just outside the top 5. Here we go a little bit further back. This is around the 10th position, just inside the top 10. Krobach's holding on to that 10th position in that bright blue HPPsimulation.com Ford Mustang. Got the bold bikini slice Porcupines number 11 right in front of him. They're doing battle for that position. And here comes the number 28 machine, Troy Haight. He's put together a few solid runs this season in that number 28 P&N water filter Chevy Camaro, using that high line to try and take the 11th position from John Broussard and the Patriot Media and Marketing Services machine. Changed manufacturer, both Broussard and the number 52 machine of Grant Brown are in Chevrolets, and I know Grant Brown's super excited to be back running Chevys. You saw him in Toyotas previously, but they've gone over to the Chevy camp, and there you see that number 52, one of the Glassdoor Brewing family drivers, trying to get himself $50 with the win here tonight. And here comes Will Worsler, Greg, trying to get the third position from his teammate, the car owner in that number 29 machine. Well, it looks like Mullins is going to let his team owner on by without too much hassle. So move Worsler now up into third, and here comes the number 2 machine of Greg Evans trying to get up into the top 5. A lot of passing here in the early going, Greg. This is a fantastic race. So far, no cautions here, running lap number 23 of the 134 scheduled laps here tonight.
Yeah, great racing here so far, Peter. It's been fun watching these guys battle it out. Will Borsler has slowly been carving his way through the field, starting in the 6th position, is up to 3rd, and now he's going to try to set his sights on Jenkins and Stykes, who are still nose to tail. I've been having so much fun watching Stykes and Jenkins' little chess match they've got going on up there. Every time Jenkins seems like he can make a move, Stykes has it planned out, and he's able to defend it off. This has been a great battle up here for the lead, and Will Borsler has been slowly creeping in on this. But I want to go back to what we talked about a few moments ago with Greg Evans in the number 2 and how he won the race at Kansas. Very similar to this track, but a little bit of a difference. Again, Kansas has that straight backstretch like Las Vegas, where Chicagoland, where we're at tonight, the backstretch is just slightly curved. So a little bit of a difference, but going back to what we talked about with Greg Evans winning that race at Kansas, and we talked about this a little bit last week at Sonoma. Greg Evans is a mile-and-a-half machine. This falls right into his wheelhouse, so I'm not at all surprised to see Greg Evans making his way up through the field in his number 2 right now, as the mile-and-a-halves have really been the house of Greg Evans this season, as winner at Kansas, winner at Charlotte. If I'm missing others, I apologize, but thinking back, just about every one of Craig Stykes' wins has been on a mile-and-a-half track or a 2-mile track, but he has done so good on the big tracks this season, Peter, so you have to think he's going to find himself in contention for the win by the end of this one.
Speaking of contention for the win, at mile-and-a-half, John Jenkins got the job done at Las Vegas earlier this season in the Hacksaw PC series. He just took his number 7 machine back up to the front. Super clean, tough task cleaner to greaser. He's got super clean air now on that number 7 machine right in front of Craig Stykes. Will Worsler still closing in. Michael Krobach in the number 72 machine last time by, actually the fastest car out there on the racetrack. And over the last 5 laps, John Jenkins, Will Worsler, and Kelsey Rogers have averaged the best times. Kelsey's well back in the field down in the 15th position, but we'll have to keep an eye on that number 34 machine as this race continues on, because, Greg, we've seen Kelsey Rogers make his way through the field multiple times this season in that race car and get solid finishes out. Was that a little wiggle there, though, out of the number 8 machine of Jimmy McKee and the McKee Lawn Care Services? He's pretty well back in the field right now, down in the 22nd position. He's right in front of the number 55 of Brian Yazik. Yazik is the biggest mover in this race so far, plus 16 positions from his 39th place starting spot.
Yeah, definitely making a climb is the 55 of Brian Yazik, and his qualifying time is way off the pace of what everyone else was, so I'm wondering if something happened on his qualifying lap and we just didn't see it. But Brian Yazik, he has had a couple good runs as well in his HPP simulation Ford, so he's making his way through the field right now, trying to get back up on Jimmy McKee in the number 8 to move into the 22nd position. And Brian Yazik, he has had a few good runs in the number 55 as of late, so he has done a very good job finding some momentum right now. And here he comes to the inside of Jimmy McKee now, trying to break through again, this for 22nd position, as hanging back there is Chris Stouffer in the 13, and Stouffer had a very impressive run at Kansas a few weeks ago as well. The race won by Greg Evans. Craig Stouffer was right up there in the mix. Chris Stouffer, I apologize. He was right up there in the mix of that one as well. And his then number 46 has since been renumbered to number 13. Very solid number 13 number right there. Gotta give props to anyone who runs that number, myself included, in the group that says 13 is not bad luck. As Chris Stouffer, running it right now, had such a good run at Kansas, led quite a few laps that day, Peter. So I have to say I'm a little bit surprised to see him this deep in the field right now. I figured he would have been able to take the similarities at Kansas and really make something happen with it, but just not there so far in that number 13.
Well, Christopher had a very patient race in that one. Here we have a battle between Broussard and the number 72, the man who started on the outside pole, and the number 72 is Michael Krobach. Krobach working his way through the corner here.
Krobach was just so impressive 2 weeks ago at Michigan in the number 72, qualified on the pole, follows it up the front row start here tonight. 3 wide outside. Look at Troy Haight in the number 28. I just keep going back to that performance out of Troy Haight at Dover. He got caught up in the accident, and we thought his night was done, and he still rallied back to finish second. A lot of people thinking that he may have had something for winner Mitch Brown in the number 51 had that not happened in the middle of the race. So Troy Haight, I keep going back to that run at Dover he had, because he just had so much speed in that number 28, and he's having another solid run here today. Going to gain a position here on Krobach, move him up into the 11th position. He's been hanging right around the bubble of the top 10 all day. Solid run here for Troy Haight, but Peter, now we are beginning to hear the question. AJ Digby was talking to us a little bit before the race, driver to number 14. He said the fuel run here was about 62, 65 laps, but with the extra set of tires, you're going to see some drivers use that to their advantage and pit a little bit earlier than the fuel run. When do you think we're going to start seeing drivers on pit road, as we are working lap 34 now of 134, 100 laps to go in this one? And when do you think we're going to start seeing guys think about green flag pit stops here?
Well, with the window being 62 to 65 laps, you potentially could stretch at 67 laps apiece and only make it one pit stop. But I don't think we're going to see that out of a lot of the drivers tonight. I think what we're going to see is these drivers split the race into thirds, and you do the math. That is about 45 laps or so. So it won't be long until we see a lot of drivers on pit road, I don't believe. However, there are always going to be those drivers who like to throw the dice, go a little bit off strategy, maybe save tires. As, ooh, man, that's James Lorello in the number 3 machine dropping down on the backstretch. Might have got a little bit loose coming out of turn number 2. So I don't think it's going to be long before we see these drivers on pit road, but we're definitely going to see drivers throw the dice here tonight, I'm sure, Greg.
Peter, I want to talk a little bit about a race site broadcasted last night at Dover, because it was 3 wide going on here. We'll talk about that in a second. Grant Brown, Brian Yazik, Woody Mahan, Jimmy McKee, and others right there. That was a little bit of a hair raiser, but I want to go back to something we talked about just a moment ago with the pit strategy. We have a driver in the Cup Series that I announced on another channel on Mondays. His name is Sean Breitzman, and he is known for, like you said, rolling the dice. And what he did at Dover last night was he took 2 tires late in the race when everyone else took 4 on 26 lap old tires, and it wound up working for him. He won the race on those 26 lap old
contact.
tires.
Sorry to cut you off, but Bradley, oh no, the 57 machine involved in an accident. This happened right up at the top of the field, and Bradley's coming down the racetrack, and oh, the 77 of Giese, he's still parked in the middle of the racetrack, and this is not good. He's now coming up the racetrack right in front of a bunch of field. This happened right up at the front with the number 7 machine of John Jenkins. Looked like he was in with maybe fresh tires or something in that 01, and he doored the race leader and then came right down in front of the number 57 of Stikes. And look at Mullins. Mullins got involved as well in the number 18 machine. That is 3 of the top 5 drivers, and then he dangerously came back down the racetrack. But that is absolute heartbreak for 3 of the top contenders here tonight. Here we go on board with, I believe, the number 57 machine. You see, Will Worser did a fantastic job of avoiding it, but nowhere for his teammate to go. And just like that, we have a few wrecked up race cars, and the first caution is out here tonight.
Man, oh man, 3 of the top 4 drivers, including the driver who had led the most laps so far in the race, Craig Stikes, just like that, out of contention for the win here. What a heartbreak for those guys, because there's no fast repairs, remember, so it's got to be tough for them. But here we go down pit road, Peter. So first round of pit stops, working lap number 39. John Jenkins leads the train down pit road.
Yeah, we'll have to see how bad the damage is on the number 7 machine that Brad Lee made contact with first. There you see the number 7 on pit road. Looks like Jay Crable, the number 87 machine. He might have missed his pit box as he strolled on through the pit lane. Oh, look at Krobach. He might have missed his pit box a little bit, and you can see the number 7 machine of Jenkins. He's going to get that damage repaired on that race car. Definitely a little bit of damage, and he's going to lose all those positions, Greg. And look at even the number 29 machine of Will Worser. He's going to drop well down the field. He's going to fall in behind the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart. Jason Stewart sporting a new paint scheme this week. Bright orange TNT Firearms number 1 machine, but that does get the lead to the man who won at Kansas Speedway, Greg Evans, assuming Jay Crable will come back down pit road to get tires here. But we're going to step away for just a brief moment, line up some commercials for you, and we'll be right back here on 3Wide TV.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the number 1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
All right, folks, welcome back to Chicagoland Speedway for tonight's Glassdoor Brewing Dash for Cash 200. On board with the number 77 machine of Alex Giese. Watch this mess happen in front of him and watch him slam on the brakes as the 0-1 starts going down the racetrack. Whew. Good news for Giese. Got by with no damage on that race car, and I know Giese has been looking for a good run. He's definitely put it together so far tonight inside the top 10. Now in the 10th position. I'm sure he's counting his blessings after that one. The pace car lights are still on here at the Chicagoland Speedway. You see the Chevy Silverado pace truck going around the racetrack. The number 2 machine of Greg Evans has got himself up into the race lead after the number 87 machine of Jay Crable did finally come down pit road in the Glassdoor Brewing number 87 machine. And currently, we have a new second-place driver, Greg, and that would be the number 24 of Alan Young. We mentioned him a couple times here tonight. He has gained a ton of positions from the start of the race. He has gained 13 spots in that number 24 machine.
What an incredible performance by Alan Young in the number 24. It has been great watching him climb through the field in the number 24. Started 15th up to 2nd. It has been so much fun watching him climb through the field. The winner at North Wilkesboro in the Throwback Series a couple weeks ago. He's trying to follow that up here with the run here at Chicago, and he's done a fantastic job, but a very tall order up front. Greg Evans in the lead in the number 2.
And then the third placed driver right now is the number 51 of Mitch Brown. Does have a little bit of left rear damage from that contact with the number 14 machine of AJ Digby. Digby currently running in the 5th position. Tyler Seville in the number 11 Slice Perky Pints Bold Bikini number 11 machine. He'll be lining up on the outside of the second row here for this restart. And what about Kelsey Rogers? We highlighted the fact that he had very good long run pace in that number 34 machine. He's up into 6th in that machine. John Broussard, Troy Haight, James Lorello, and Alex Giese round out your top 10. John Jenkins fell back to the 11th position after trying to get as much right side damage repaired as possible from that contact with the 01 machine of Brad Lee. Brad Lee had come down pit road, was on fresher tires. He was trying to unlap himself in that 01 machine where he just got a little bit too high, broke a little bit loose, and got into the side of Jenkins's machine. Luckily, Jenkins did not get the worst damage from that incident. We do have drivers like Craig Stykes off the racetrack and Doug Mullins. So we're having a little bit of connection issue here, unfortunately, right before the green flag. So we're going to go to a radio style broadcast here as the pace truck lights are off. Greg Evans will lead us back to green. Alan Young to his outside. Pace truck dives down pit road. Flagman has the green flag in hand, and there is the green flag. Greg Evans getting a huge jump on the restart, already out to a couple car lengths lead. He's going to pull the number 51 machine of Mitch Brown with him underneath Alan Young's number 24 machine. Here comes Tyler Seville to take a position from Young. Young going from the second position all the way back to fourth here, and Young still not able to get up to speed as Digby is going to look to his bottom here down the backstretch, Greg.
Digby with a good run on the inside. Top three cars breaking away. Now make it four as Digby almost clears Alan Young, but Young comes fighting back on the outside off of turn number 4. Meanwhile, up front, Mitch Brown taking a peek to the inside of Greg Evans, and Mitch Brown came up just a little bit short. Actually, no, he's going to lead the lap. Mitch Brown leads the lap by just 1/100th of a second and clears Greg Evans going into turn number 1. So Mitch Brown, the defending Hacksaw PC's champion, leading the way. He opens up about a 4-car length lead before the side-by-side battle between Tyler Seville and Greg Evans. Now Seville clears Evans going into turn number 3. Top 2 cars breaking away as the side-by-side battle breaks out for third, Peter.
AJ Digby, the number 14 machine, he's got himself up into the third position as Greg Evans now on the high side. He's kind of stuck out there in the sucker hole, so to speak, because the number 34 of Kelsey Rogers is going to fill the void underneath him. And now Rogers is going to get up into the fourth position, move Greg Evans back to fifth. He's going to finally be able to slot into the inside line back in that fifth position. But right behind him, there's a side-by-side battle. John Broussard on the inside of Alan Young, who's still losing positions. He's unable to get to the inside. Almost contact coming out of turn number 4 between the number 53 and the number 24. They fan out here coming across the start-finish line. And it does look like John Broussard might clear the number 24 machine here coming out of turn number 2. Indeed, he does. Alan Young now slid back to 7th from restarting in 2nd. We're a single file for the top 10. As you can see, finally, we're able to get back the live feed here from Chicagoland Speedway and the Glassdoor Brewing Dash for Cash 200.
Out for the lead, Tyler Seville to the inside of Mitch Brown. Seville will lead the lap that time by, again, 1/100th of a second. The gap. Mitch Brown comes fighting back on the outside, though. But Tyler Seville did lead the lap, but Mitch Brown able to clear him back. Everything is settled down behind him. AJ Digby running in third. Kelsey Rogers, winner of a developmental series race at Iowa last week, is trying to make his way back up here in the 4th position after starting 24th position. Kelsey Rogers up 20 positions, Peter, from the start of this race, sitting in the 4th position, trying now to peek to the outside of Digby. Good run so far here for the 34 of Kelsey Rogers as he tries to peek his way up onto the podium for the first time.
We have had a couple of retirements after that incident. Cody Spiker, the number 19 machine, he actually retired. He was not related to that incident. He was our first retirement here tonight. Brad Lee has taken his car to the garage. Craig Stykes still sitting on pit road. Doug Mullins looks like he's taken his car to the garage as well. But back up at the front, AJ Digby now starting to get shuffled back to the number 14 machine. He was third just one lap ago. Now he's going to slide all the way back to 6th. He's going to slot in behind the now 5th placed number 2 machine of Greg Evans. But here comes Alan Young once again in that number 24 machine, trying to move back up into the top 2, which is where he restarted after our one and only caution we've had in the first 50 laps here at Chicagoland Speedway in the Glassdoor Brewing Dash for Cash 200. Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series race. Definitely been an interesting start to this race as we are now closing in on the 100-mile mark. It would be halfway in about 20 or so laps from now. Riding on board with the number 29 of Will Warser. He must have got a piece of that, Greg, because he had a very long pit stop. Definitely has some right front damage on that number 29 machine, but he's definitely showing he still has a lot of pace here running inside the top 10.
Yeah, he had to have gotten involved in that one, Peter, as he is running right now in, I believe, the 8th position once it's all said and done. Perhaps 9th. We'll see where he scored at as he crosses the line. Yes, he's in 8th right now after being up as high as 3rd before that incident happened. And he was trying to track down John Jenkins when it was coming up there. Him and Craig Stykes were reeling him in when that incident happened as he is trying now to work his way back up. John Jenkins one spot ahead of him to the inside now of Alan Young up there. That's for the 6th position. Mitch Brown still leading the way up front. Tyler Seville not going away, though, trying to put pressure on and get back up there. Kelsey Rogers has gotten around Broussard for the third spot, so Kelsey Rogers in third now, trying to make a run at the top two right now, but he's about a second behind this battle for the lead.
What I love out there on the racetrack right now, you got your top two have broken away, but from third all the way back to around the 30th position, these cars are almost nose to tail. Fantastic job by this field here tonight. We had 40 starters at the beginning of the Glassdoor Brewing Dash for Cash 200. Unfortunately, only 33 of those are still on the lead lap. Richard Fletcher in the number 43 Slice Porcupine's machine, the last car on the lead lap as of right now. Tim Knott in the number 41 machine. I know we have had Steven Stanley rooting on Tim here tonight. Tim actually fell one lap down. Remember, he's got all that damage from the beginning of the race. Looks like he's got some of that damage repaired up at the front, which will bode well for the remainder of this race. Hopefully, he can get the rest of that damage repaired as this race goes on. But we do have a battle here mid-pack between the number 77 of Alex Giese, the number 13 machine, right to his inside. That's Chris Stouffer. You mentioned it earlier, Greg, that Stouffer had a fantastic run at Kansas a couple weeks back to see if he can get up into the top 5 here again tonight. So far, lingering around the 15th position for most of this show, but he's got the number 14 of AJ Digby, who has slid well back under this restart, kind of got shuffled into the outside groove, and with how close these cars are nose to tail on the inside groove, Digby slid back like a stone.
Digby falling now well outside the top 10. Remember, he was up as high as third, Peter, trying to get up there and break through for the podium. Now he's riding behind Jimmy McKee in 13th position, trying to get up there. That just goes to show how much things can change here at Chicagoland, as the battle is in front of him between Yazik and Troy Haight. That's for the 10th position right now. 55 outside, 28 inside. But Peter, I just noticed Mitch Brown in the 51, left rear damage to the race leader. Doesn't seem to be slowing them down at all, but it is there on the race leader, so we'll see how that goes on to affect him here on the long run. But you know, Tyler Seville, the number 11, riding in second right now, he sees that, and he's got to be licking his chops looking at that, because he knows it's only going to be so long before that eventually comes into play.
Yeah, and we have to keep an eye on the third place man right now, Greg Evans, once again. And over the last few laps, he has been reeling in both Mitch Brown and Tyler Seville up at the front, sure tape on the hood, right in front of Kelsey Rogers' number 34 machine. Then there's a little bit of a gap back to the 5th placed John Jenkins. Can't rule him out just yet. Got that right side damage from that contact with the 01 machine to bring out the first caution. But Jenkins, who started on the pole, been very, very fast now back up into the top 5. Broussard's going to slide back into 6th. And here comes Will Worcester with a late lunge underneath that number 53 Glassdoor Brewing machine. And looks like Worcester going to try and take that 6th position. Also going to bring Alan Young back into the fray for this battle for 6th. And now you're starting to see, Greg, the field spread out just a little bit, as we're now no longer nose to tail from 3rd all the way back to 30th. Starting to see some gaps develop, but still some fantastic side-by-side racing out here. This battle for the 6th position, the best battle on the racetrack right now, has now Alan Young looking underneath the number 29 Slice Porcupine's machine of Will Worcester, going through turn number 3 and 4. Some great action out there.
Yeah, it's still slicing and dicing here all over the racetrack. It's been so much fun to watch this race unfold here as we're working lap number 59. We are already almost halfway through this race, Peter. We're closing in on that slowly. So this is going very quickly here at Chicagoland. Short race for ASRS standards, only 134 laps, 200 miles. And it has been fun to watch this thing go. And it really hasn't been one driver dominating this race, because we saw Craig Stykes lead a majority of the race in the early going. John Jenkins got around him, and then not too long after that happened, we saw the first caution in which 3 of the top 4 drivers got caught up in an incident. So that just changed the entire complexion of this race. John Jenkins was the race leader at the time, trying to get back up into the top 5, but this has definitely turned this race on its lid. Here, as we approach halfway, we're about 7 laps from halfway.
Looking a little bit further back in the pack, battle around the 10th position. Brian Yazik doing battle with Jimmy McKee. And remember, that number 55 machine, he started way back in the 39th position. He's now in the 11th spot, right behind McKee, who took the top 10 position from that HPBsimulation.com machine just a minute ago. Here we got a side-by-side battle up in front of them. That's the number 24 of Alan Young trying to get underneath Will Warsler once again. This battle for 7 still going on out here on the racetrack as they go down that curved backstretch. You just see that curvature there as they run down it. Young's going to make that pass. He clears Will Warsler here coming out of turn number 4. Good job by Alan Young to try and make up some of those positions that he lost after that restart. Look at Jimmy McKee going all the way down below the white stripe there through the trial to try and defend that position from Yazik in the number 55. Digby trying to make his way back up. He's been able to kind of stop the bleeding in 12th, right in front of Troy Haight, just outside of the picture. There you see that black and green peanut and water filter Chevrolet. And there you see the number 24 machine of Alan Young. Young Gun Creations on the hood of that number 24 machine. And Greg, speaking about the lead though, this battle for the lead is now a 4-car battle as Greg Evans and Kelsey Rogers have been able to close in on both the 51 and the 11, and can't rule out the number 7 machine of John Jenkins because he's now closing in. We're about to have a 5-car battle for the race lead as Greg Evans dives to the inside of Tyler Seville in turn number 3 and 4.
We've seen how strong that number 7 of Jenkins is on the long run, and here he is making a run now, trying to catch up here as Evans gets the 3rd spot from Seville, tries to bring Kelsey Rogers with him in the number 11. He will fall to the 4th position. Here comes Jenkins for 5th. John Broussard also beginning to close in on that as well. But up front, still Mitch Brown leading the way. But here comes Greg Evans with a run. And we've seen this a couple times this year, Peter. Mitch Brown and Greg Evans battling it out for the race lead. Coming up about 3 laps from halfway. Greg Evans qualified 10th, running in 2nd. Mitch Brown 4th, qualified 4th, running in the lead right now. But how about Kelsey Rogers, 24th starting position, up to 3rd right now, taking a peek to the inside of Greg Evans as he had to check up just a hair on the number 51 of Mitch Brown. As they come down the curved backstretch, Evans with a run to the inside.
Yeah, able to use that curved backstretch to his advantage. Evans just poking his nose underneath the number 51 Glassdoor Brewing Toyota Camry. Remember, if Mitch Brown, gets to go to victory lane. I combined your top 2 there. Greg Evans on the inside of Mitch Brown. But if Mitch Brown can go to victory lane, he gets $50 for winning the race. Since he's got Glassdoor Brewing on the hood, one of the Glassdoor Brewing family drivers, and he's trying to pinch the number 2 machine down there on the inside, getting really close there coming out of turn number 2. And this has allowed John Jenkins to get up into the 4th position. He got around Tyler Seville, and look at Kelsey Rogers trying to sniff out the lead from these top 2. This is some good action here. Who will get to the stripe here now, just 1 lap away from the halfway distance? It will be halfway next time by, and does look like the number 2 of Greg Evans. He's going to have a good run here through the center of turn number 1 and 2. Will clear the number 51 coming out of that corner. Now, can Kelsey Rogers kind of follow through and make the pass on Mitch Brown here? We're starting to see some drivers, I think, start to lose their tires just a little bit here, Greg, in the middle part of this run.
About 30 laps, a little bit less than 30 laps since we took that pit stop, Peter, as Greg Evans leading the way in the number 2. John Jenkins thought about 3 wide there in the number 7 in the 4th position, but thought better of it as Kelsey Rogers and Mitch Brown continue to battle it out. Meanwhile, John Broussard and Alan Young have caught up to this battle, and Will Warsler beginning to close in also. So this battle for the front is going to begin to heat up again here as some more players enter the conversation as Greg Evans continues to try to pull away into number 2. 6 wins on the year for Greg Evans. Such a strong performance for him this year in the number 2 on the 1.5 miles. About half a second now for Mitch Brown. Here comes Broussard, though, on the inside of Tyler Seville. Battle for the 5th position here. Here comes Alan Young on the back bumper of Broussard. Move Broussard up into the top 5 for now, but Seville gets a good run, and he's got his teammate and car owner Will Warsler trying to give him some support there, but he can't get to him. Warsler's going to have to tuck in behind Alan Young as Broussard tries to get a run on Seville once again. This is the battle for 5th.
This is the battle for the 5th position, but we also have a battle for the 2nd position up in front because Kelsey Rogers back up underneath the number 51 of Mitch Brown. They're really tight through turn number 1 and 2. Oh boy, Rogers having to fight off the arrow push from that number 51 in front of him. Rogers going to make another lunge here. It's exactly what the number 2 of Greg Evans did. He was able to use that curved backstretch to his advantage. It's a little bit shorter around the inside of that curved backstretch, and that is exactly how the number 2 got to the inside of Mitch Brown. And as you can see, folks, the number 2 of Greg Evans has really pulled away as John Jenkins now making a lunge underneath the number 34 of Kelsey Rogers. Jenkins wants it. He's starting to see that number 2 disappear off in the distance. Jenkins has shown so much pace. He is your current Hacksaw PC's Premier Series points leader. Remember, second place in points is the number 2 machine of Greg Evans. So Jenkins trying to preserve that points lead to see if he can get back up to the back bumper of that number 2. Look, Mitch Brown going below the white line as this battle continues for third position. Jenkins once again late on the brakes. Gonna slide right up in front of the number 34. Gets a little bit loose down there on the inside. They might have made contact, but Rogers able to stay off the back bumper of that number 7 machine. And Greg, that is not an easy thing to do when the car in front of you is as loose as the number 7 machine was right there.
No, that really isn't Peter. That was a great job by John Jenkins to hang on to that car and get the third position away from Kelsey Rogers as he now sets his sights on Mitch Brown. Remember, John Jenkins started on the pole, led a few laps around the middle stage of the first half of this one here as he was trying to break away. Led a couple laps early. Craig Stykes was far away, the dominant car in the early stages. John Jenkins was finally able to get around him, and about 10 or 15 laps later, suddenly Jenkins got caught up in the incident with the lap car, and he has fallen back outside the top 10, currently back up in the third position. This has been a great recovery for John Jenkins in the number 7, as Mitch Brown and company not exactly letting Greg Evans get away right now in the number 2. It's about half a second, and that's probably a result of the aero package on this mile-and-a-half racetrack, Peter. Not as easy to break away on this track as it was, say, 2-3 years ago with this new aero package. We're seeing it right now. Greg Evans able to get about a half second, but not get any further ahead right now as Mitch Brown continues to go on defense with Jenkins and Rogers behind him.
The man I'm watching right now is the 5th placed number 24 machine of Alan Young. He's starting to reel in the 2nd through 4th place machines. You see him right there, the Young Gun Creations Chevy Camaro. It's been a great run for him here tonight as we have only 60 more laps to go, 90 miles around Chicagoland Speedway. And there you see the number 29 machine also right behind him. Will Warser trying to make a recovery from that contact that brought out the one and only yellow flag that we've had in the first 75 laps. Looking a little bit further back in the pack here, here's the John Van Varellis doing battle with the number 69 machine of Adam Dursky. Van Varellis down there in the number 78 machine, trying to get himself up into the top 20. That's currently held by Michael Whiting in the number 44 Brookside Equipment Sales machine. Right up in front of them. They're battling right there for the 21st position between Dursky and Van Varellis. Back up towards the front. This is a battle for a top 10 position or so. Brian Yazik's got himself up into the 8th position with that pass on John Broussard, who's starting to drop back a little bit here, Greg. We're definitely starting to see some comers and goers because right behind them is the number 11 of Seville. And remember, Seville had a fantastic start to this run, but I think he might have used up his tires just a little bit too much. And now he has slid all the way back to the 10th position, in danger of falling out of the top 10 as the number 3 of James Lorello is looking to get himself up into the top 10.
James Lorello putting pressure on in the Ward Total Racing car, going after the Will Worsler Racing, number 11 of Tyler Seville, to try to break into the top 10. And remember, Seville, the winner at Michigan on fuel mileage 2 weeks ago, had another stellar run last week at Sonoma with a good top 5 finish. So Seville on momentum right now, but definitely something going sour on the number 11. I have to agree with you. I think he may have used the tires up a little bit too much here in the number 11 car in this second run of the race. And he's going to be no doubt ready for pit stops when they come, whether they be green flag or under the caution. So Tyler Seville, good run right now in the number 11. Right now he just has to hold on and try to get back up and make it to pit road. But up front is beginning to heat up again, Peter, because Kelsey Rogers has gotten back around John Jenkins for the 3rd spot, and they are closing in on Greg Evans. It's now just 0.3 of a second, the gap now.
Yeah, and look at that number 24 machine. He has joined this battle. Alan Young ran down John Jenkins. He is currently in the 5th position. We actually have had a couple of takers to pit road. Jonathan Holstein and Richard Fletcher have both gone down pit road. There's Richard Fletcher right now. Jonathan Holstein pitted about 2 laps ago in the Spotted Cow Brands number 73 machine. So Holstein is out there on fresh tires as we speak. Hopefully he will be able to use that to his advantage. I was going to say, Greg, you did mention pit stops. These drivers last pitted about 42 laps ago. There's 54 laps to go, so that's only about 7 laps until they split what would be the last run in half. And, ooh, man, look at the 24. It looks like Alan Young might have got a little bit loose down there below the apron. That's something we haven't seen here tonight.
Yeah, Alan Young breaking loose below the apron. That's not exactly common in Cup racing here at Chicago. So definitely interesting that that happened. And then you see right there the damage that it did to him. Not damage to the car, but damage as far as momentum going, because he has lost touch for the moment with the 7 of John Jenkins, but has been able to catch back up to him in the number 7 as Alan Young again trying to catch up. Battle for the 2nd position breaking out now. Kelsey Rogers to the inside of Mitch Brown, trying to get a run. He will clear Mitch Brown off of turn number 2. Kelsey Rogers the 2nd. He won the developmental series last week. 1 car off the track in front of him.
That is Todd Kirkwood in the number 86 machine who has had issues. He's well off the racetrack. We'll have to see if we can see exactly what happened here to the Time Rev Ford Mustang, doing battle with the number 87 of Crable. Oh, look at the 73 machine of Holstein went underneath him. That might have scared him, just spooked him a little bit. And that number 86 machine, he just went straight down into the inside wall. And just like that, Todd Kirkwood's night is done. Not 100% sure if that wasn't possibly hardware related. He's still down there on the racetrack right now, smoking, trying to get back to pit road. But that will be the end of the night for Todd Kirkwood as that engine has expired. Meanwhile, back up at the front, Kelsey Rogers trying to run down the 2 of Greg Evans. Mitch Brown still holding on to 3rd. The 7 of Jenkins still in 4th. Alan Young right behind them. Will Worcesters also joined this battle in the number 29 Slice Porcupines machine. There he is right behind Alan Young. Very, very difficult to pass here, Greg. A lot of these drivers, though, they have to start thinking about coming down pit road because the pit road is open. I mean, it's the pit window's open as well. They can make it from this point to the end on one single pit stop, and all these drivers still have a fresh set of Goodyear tires. They have 2 fresh sets of Goodyear tires on pit road, in fact.
Yeah, you have to really think about coming in the next couple of laps to set yourself up for perhaps a late race caution. Greg Evans in lap traffic now. The race leader gets around lap traffic. It's the number 76 of John Gallagher going a lap down there. Gallagher going to the outside to get out of everybody's way. Good job by him. But yeah, you have to think, whoa, 1 car caught the wall. I believe it was Gallagher, and that caused the field to fan out behind Evans. But it is time to think about coming to pit road. And now already 1 driver calling his shot. It's the 41 of Tim Knott. He's coming in this time. Oh, he has to wound it up. He will. Good job by Tim Knott there to come in, as here he comes down pit road. Pit stops are beginning as a couple of cars on pit road near the back of the field. How long before we start seeing leaders?
It won't be all too long. Edward Bray also coming down pit road. Tony Schoen has come down and pitted as well. Tim Knott, Pete Baskins both in their pit boxes as we speak. So the pit window is open. Cars coming down pit road. It has been 48 laps since these cars were last on pit road. Up at the front, there's 48 laps to go. That's the halfway mark between when they last pitted and the checkered flag. And that usually means a very busy pit road. As you see, John Jenkins, he's got around Mitch Brown and got himself up into the 3rd position. And Kelsey Rogers up the front, starting to run down the number 2 of Greg Evans right up at the front. What will Kelsey do with how difficult it's been to pass here tonight, Greg? I'm surprised we haven't seen more of these leaders come down pit road. Your top 10 yet to come down pit road, with Jimmy McKee now joining that battle for the 4th position. Mitch Brown in 4th, Warser in 5th, Alan Young in 6th, and Jimmy McKee in the number 8 machine right there at the back of your screen. McKee lawn care, and the number 29 machine, Will Warser, late getting to pit road, almost got clobbered in the back by Jimmy McKee as we were talking about him, but Warser got to pit road. He's going to come down and get 4 fresh tires. Here comes James Lorello, Tyler Seville, as well as the number 84, of Woody Mahan. They're all going to get into their pit boxes, and Greg, it is imperative that these drivers get into their pit box nice and neat so they don't lose any extra time on pit road, because you and I know you can lose a race by overshooting your pit box.
Yes, sir, indeed. It can be drastic if you don't get it on pit road. More and more cars coming down pit road now. Second place, Kelsey Rogers coming in. So Kelsey Rogers, the 34, gives up the second position to pit. Looks like he's the only one of the leaders to pit this time by. So Rogers slides into his pit stall. Top 5 now still out on the track. Let's see how it unfolds. Boy, Greg Evans is suddenly by himself now as John Jenkins is about a second behind him. And I'm keeping my eye when Mitch Brown comes in, see how much, if any, of the damage he can get repaired. He's slowing down, so he's coming in this time in the number 51. So will he elect to try to stay a couple of extra seconds and get a little bit of that damage repaired? We will see.
We almost had a caution coming out of turn number 2. Ed Bray in the number 66 machine. The Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Chevy Camaro almost was caught up in an accident with Grant Brown. You see him catch up to that number 52 machine. There was contact between the two, and you saw that that was almost so much worse. If Ed Bray and Grant Brown had made further contact, that would have been caution number 2 here tonight. Mitch Brown on pit road. There's Christopher Bouchard on pit road. Giese in the 77s rolling. There's the number 13 of Stouffer. 14 of AJ Digby still on pit road. But this man right here, the number 2 of Greg Evans, he has yet to come down pit road. He is your race leader here, as we now only have 43 laps to go around Chicagoland Speedway, the mile-and-a-half racetrack located in Joliet, Illinois. For tonight's Glassdoor Brewing Dash for Cash 200. Only one caution here tonight came out around lap number 40 or so. Greg Evans so far has led a significant amount of laps. There's only been 3 lead changes, but Greg, for only 3 lead changes, this race has been action-filled.
It's been great to watch this race, Peter. It's been so racy up front. Just because the lead itself isn't changing a whole lot doesn't mean that it hasn't been action-packed. The leaders have been nose to tail for quite a bit here before this round of pit stops began, and it has been so much fun to watch it all unfold here. One more driver bringing it behind the wall. Jake Crable, the number 87, goes behind the wall, done for the day, as Greg Evans continuing. Right now, just 6 cars on the lead lap. That is going to change once Greg Evans ducks down pit road. John Jenkins and Alan Young also have yet to pit here. Still looking like the top 6 have yet to pit right now, Peter, and make that top 5 as Sam Crow in the number 5 comes down pit road. So top 5 still yet to pit right now, and still showing no signs of it as they work their way through. As I say that, Greg Evans pulls off, so move the number 2 to pit road. John Jenkins takes the race lead back, but Greg Evans, the race leader, on pit road.
And I gotta say, Greg, this is a very interesting call by some of the other drivers out there. Maybe they were thinking of saving a set of tires, but you have to remember this week in Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, they got 4 sets of tires, unlike most races where they only get 3. So they, even after they put 4 fresh tires on these race cars, they still have a set back on pit road. It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. Here comes the number 7 of John Jenkins. He's going to come down to his pit box. That will hand the race lead over to John Van Varellis in the number 78 machine, still out there on the racetrack. He is the only car who has yet to come down pit road. He's got 57 laps on his tires. There he is in that car right there, still turning laps. Behind him, though, the number 29 machine of Will Warser. We saw him make that late dive to pit road. He did so expertly, I must say. Carried as much speed as he could to get down to the yellow line, to get down to the pit road speed, and he will eventually, I'm sure, take over the race lead once this cycles through and John Van Varellis comes down pit road, which he is doing so right now. The 78 of John Van Varellis down at 50 miles an hour. He will give the race lead to Will Warsler, who has about a 1.4 second advantage over the number 34 of Kelsey Rogers. But Greg, we now know that we have drivers like Greg Evans. They're on fresh tires, fresher than other cars in front of them. In fact, Greg Evans right now is scored down in the 15th position. We'll have to see if he scored a little bit higher than that. Indeed, he is. This time by, he's now up to 13th as things continue to cycle through. But Evans was your race leader, now has 12 race cars in front of him to get back up to the point, and he's 7.8 seconds behind your race leader, Will Worsler.
Is on a few lap pressure tires, Peter, but I don't know if he has enough time if this thing goes green. If I'm in the 2, I'm praying for a caution right now, because there is just under 30 laps to go, actually just over 30 laps to go. So it is going to be interesting to see if he can get back up there. Will Worsler leading the way. He's got a 1 second lead over Kelsey Rogers in the number 34. Mitch Brown in third, another 0.8 of a second behind him. So Will Worsler leading for the first time tonight. Good run for him in the number 29. And remember, 2 of the Will Worsler racing cars were up in the top 3 when they got caught up in an incident, Peter. So Will Worsler has really had to carry the flag for his team after having 2 cars with very good chances at the win, being Doug Mullins and Craig Stykes. Craig Stykes leading a big portion of the early stages, caught up in an incident and dropping out of the race. Will Worsler has since began to run the colors of the Will Worsler racing team, but he is losing ground to Kelsey Rogers and Mitch Brown both. They are both beginning to close the gap on Will Worsler, so we will see how he's able to hold on here as they come around to start lap 100 of 134, and time is ticking away, but the lead is shrinking.
You know, that number 29 machine up at the front, he has 1 lap older tires than the number 34 behind him. I'm wondering if he has decided to use some of that advantage he had up at the front of the field. He had that 1.7 second lead. I'm wondering if he just decided to kind of woe it up a little bit, save some tire, knows that the cars behind him have a tire lap advantage, and just run his pace just a little bit here and let those cars catch him. Save that tires. You know that there's still 34 more laps to go as we're now working lap 101 in tonight's Glassdoor Brewing Dash for Cash 200 for the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. And here comes that number 34 machine of Kelsey Rogers, continues to close in, now down to only 0.3 of a second. Mitch Brown, he's actually got a lap fresher tires than Kelsey Rogers, who has a lap fresher tires than Will Worsler. Worsler now has 13 laps on his tires. Kelsey Rogers 12, Mitch Brown 11. Jimmy McKee in the number 8 machine, we were singing his praises just before that. Oh, contact! Kelsey Rogers dives underneath the number 29. Will Worsler shoves him up out of the groove. New race leader, the number 34 of Kelsey Rogers. That was definitely a little bit of contact there. Now a little bit of right side damage on the 34, a little bit of left side damage on the number 29 machine. Now while we're watching this replay, Mitch Brown and the number 51 has gone back up to the point. There's that contact between those 2 race cars. Now Mitch Brown will lead this lap, and this is what drivers like Greg Evans want to see. They want to see these drivers up at the front battling each other, slow each other down, because that will allow Greg Evans to use those fresh tires and slow and catch up. John Jenkins right now being scored not too far behind the race lead. He is closing in. John Jenkins and Greg Evans both closing in on the race lead. Evans now only 4.5 seconds off the race lead. There he is, right behind the number 11 of Tyler Seville. Brian Yazik, how about him, Greg? He's currently running in the 5th position. He started all the way back in 39th position, now running inside the top 5. That number 55 machine does have some of the oldest tires, though, in the top 10 at 14.5 laps old to drivers like Greg Evans, 9.5 lap old tires. John Jenkins only 8.5 laps on his tires. Jenkins now making up the 10th place machine. That's Kelsey Rogers going to see if he can close back in on Mitch Brown to take that lead back. They're, I'm sure, going to be watching their rearview mirror to see if they can see that number 2 machine slowly getting bigger. Remember, Evans came out of pit road. He was 15th. He's up to 6th.
He has been climbing through the field, but I have been watching the guy sitting in 3rd right now, Jimmy McKee. We haven't talked about him a whole lot because he was riding in the mid-pack for most of the race. He has worked his way up to the 3rd position and is catching up to Mitch Brown and Kelsey Rogers. So Jimmy McKee might be able to steal a good finish here. Remember, they can go the rest of the way on fuel, but you know if they catch a late caution here, they're all going to bolt on 4 fresh tires. So Jimmy McKee has himself in a pretty good position right now, trying to track down the race lead with Mitch Brown, Kelsey Rogers in front of him. He's gotten around Will Worsler in the 29, and remember, Peter, both Brown and Rogers have some damage. As far as I can tell, McKee looking pretty clean right now in the number 8, so we'll see if he can get up and make some noise for the end of this one.
And you can see how old those tires are right there on the left-hand side of your screen. The last pit stop for Mitch Brown 16 laps ago, Kelsey Rogers 18 laps ago, Jimmy McKee 17 laps ago, and then you have the number 2 machine, Greg Evans, only 12 laps on his tires, Jenkins 11 laps on your tires, and Alan Young only 12 laps on his tires. So that gives you an indication of which drivers will have the freshest tires here as this race continues to wind down. Greg Evans, folks, he's now only 2 seconds behind the race lead. You can see last time by, Greg Evans half second faster than Mitch Brown, your current race leader, with a 31.71 to Mitch Brown's 32.237. It's getting close here up at the front. Greg Evans now underneath the number 55 of Brian Yazik for a top 5 position. He's coming here, Greg, and he's been shown all season long that he's so fast around these mile-and-a-half racetracks, now back up into the top 5.
Talked about it last week at Sonoma. This falls into his wheelhouse, Peter, and he is showing it once again how strong he is on this facility. He is so fast at these mile-and-a-halves, trying now to break up into the top 4 as he's trying to track down Will Worsler in the number 29. John Jenkins closing in as well, trying to get up there. He's got a lap car between himself and 6th place Brian Yazik in the number 55, but Jenkins 1 lap fresher tires than Greg Evans. But Mitch Brown continues to lead. Kelsey Rogers putting the pressure on in 2nd, but Evans to the inside of Worsler, trying to get the 4th spot. Has it at the line. We'll see if Evans can clear him. Yes, he will. Now he sets his sights on 3rd place, Jimmy McKee.
Yeah, Greg Evans is flying up through the field right now, has his sights set on the number 8 machine. There's James Lorello doing battle with the number 84 of Woody Mahan. This is around the 10th position. 10th position currently held by the number 3 of Lorello. But back up at the front, here comes the number 2 machine, Greg Evans, underneath Jimmy McKee. This is 3rd position for Greg Evans. If he can clear the number 8 off into turn number 1, he does. And the number 2 Sure Tate machine now up into the top 3, got fresher tires on that race machine. Who will be able to stop him as these laps continue to wind down? John Van Varelis has the freshest tires in the field. He currently finds himself 1 lap down. He's just outside this picture. There he is in that number 78 machine. He's currently in 28th position. He's trying to get by these leaders to get himself back on the lead lap, right behind the number 8 of Jimmy McKee, but you are continuing to see the number 2 of Greg Evans close in on your race leader, and we still have 23 more laps around this mile-and-a-half racetrack. Greg Evans is there.
Evans putting pressure on Rogers. Remember the left side damage on Rogers' car after the contact with Will Worsler about 10 laps ago. Evans to the inside now of Rogers for the 2nd spot. And what a run Kelsey Rogers has had today, Peter, as he falls down to the 3rd position. But he has really been struggling in the Premier Series over the last week or so. But the win at Iowa in the Development Series last week at Iowa, followed up with this. It has been very impressive for Kelsey Rogers in the 34 tonight.
Yeah, great run for Kelsey Rogers. He's definitely had a lot of bad luck this season in the Hacksaw PC Premier Cup Series, but here tonight showing his pace, as is Greg Evans. I mean, Evans looking for win number 7 on the season, which is just crazy to think that we've only had about 16 races, and Greg Evans has almost won half of them, and he's going for the race lead once again here down the backstretch. The number 78 of John Van Varelis right behind him is 1 lap down on the freshest tires on the racetrack right now. But Evans is going to make easy work of that number 51 machine. New race leader, Greg Evans, once again here at Chicagoland Speedway.
But now you got to keep your eye on the number 7 of John Jenkins. 1 lap fresher tires than Evans. Doesn't sound like a lot, but the way things are going right now, it could be a lot as Jenkins now gets to the back bumper of Rogers for the 3rd spot. So keeping an eye now on the points leader, John Jenkins. But the problem is now Greg Evans has that clean air, so he's going to try to be able to drive away a little bit from the rest of these guys while Jenkins tries to work his way around Rogers and Brown. And Jenkins, wasting no time, goes to the bottom.
Yeah, and of course, the number 2 machine, Greg Evans, also has John Van Varellis to deal with. Van Varellis trying to get his lap back in that number 78 machine. A little bit fresher tires on that 78. He was the last car to come down pit road, and Jenkins taking that 3rd position. And of course, Van Varellis here, he's going to try and do everything he can to stay on the lead lap right in front of Greg Evans. I'm sure this might just play into the hands of John Jenkins here, Greg, because Jenkins knows that the number 2 machine will be held up just a little bit by the number 78 if Van Varellis cannot pull away. Conversely, though, it does give Greg Evans a little bit of a draft down the straightaways, which might be advantageous to Evans. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. As the number 51 of Mitch Brown slides a little bit high coming out of turn number 2. Jenkins gets a run down the backstretch. Is Jenkins going to duck low? No, the 51 goes down to block in front of Jenkins's number 7 machine. Now will Jenkins try and do an over-under here coming out of turn number 4. Jenkins getting pushed up the racetrack just a little bit by the 51, but Mitch Brown, he's holding firm in that machine, trying to get the race win. Remember, it is $25 to the race winner, or $50 if you have Glassdoor Brewing on the hood. Mitch Brown, the highest driver with Glassdoor Brewing on the hood right now, but he's going to lose that spot to John Jenkins. And now, Jenkins, 1 lap fresher tires right behind the number 2 machine. We're going to have a battle for the race win here, I do believe, Greg, as we're coming to the closing stages of this one.
That was great defense there by Mitch Brown in the 51. Recognized that Jenkins was strong on the inside and took his line away there. Almost worked out for him, but Jenkins was able to get the line. But Mitch Brown did a great job on defense there. But now we're starting to see it. What can he do with Greg Evans? He's closing in ever so slightly here. A little over 15 laps to go. And John Jenkins, 1 lap fresher tires than Greg Evans right now. And we're seeing how much of a difference that's making already. So we'll see how it is. 7 versus 2 for the win here at Chicago as they start to pull away from Mitch Brown in the 51. Remember, there is lap traffic ahead of him. Let's see if that comes into play here.
John Jenkins took his one and only win this season in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series back at Las Vegas. That was round number 2. Here we are, round number 17, looking for win number 2. Greg Evans looking for win number 7 on the series. Only a quarter of a second between them right now. This time by will only be 14 more laps, 21 miles around this racetrack. And like you said, John Van Varellis has been able to skip away from the number 2 machine back on the lead lap in the 28th position. So I'm sure Greg Evans will be thankful that the 78 machine was able to pull away. You really don't want a car just get around you and get stuck right in front of you. If they're faster, you want them to go away from you, if they're a lap car. But definitely going to be interesting to see. Can Jenkins pick up win number 2? Can Evans pick up win number 7? Or will we see a late race caution that will throw everything into a loop? We've only seen 1 caution here tonight, Greg. And that 1 car, here we got a battle a little bit further back. Now looks like the number 53 machine of Broussard trying to get around the number 28 machine. 28 machine of Troy Haight. This is a battle for the 11th position, currently held by Haight. We'll back up at the front, the number 7 machine slowly closing in. Last time by, Jenkins 3/100ths of a second faster than Greg Evans up at the front.
So close, Peter. It's so much fun to watch it all unfold. We'll see what happens there. Another 2/100ths quicker there for John Jenkins as he now takes a peek to the bottom. And we've seen this out of Jenkins all day. That's where he's stronger, is on the bottom of the racetrack. Through the oval into 1 and 2, and Jenkins trying to get a run, but Evans shut the door. Good defense there by Greg Evans. We saw that work for Mitch Brown for a couple laps before Jenkins was eventually able to get him on those pressure tires. We'll see how it goes here. And did John Jenkins use up that advantage trying to catch back up to Greg Evans? 1 lap difference is just so minute here, so little, that he may have used that up already trying to catch up to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Tire wear here at Chicagoland isn't It isn't good. It's pretty bad tire wear. It's a pretty abrasive surface. Of course, this is the original surface that this track debuted with back in 2001, and it just has continued to get more and more abrasive over the years. To put that into perspective, Greg Evans' fastest lap was a 30.6. Last time by, it was 1.7 seconds slower than that, as he has to defend the number 7 machine here through the trial. Well, Greg Evans trying to do all he can to stay in front of that number 7 machine, as we have 10 more laps to go. But look at the 7 of Jenkins closing down the backstretch. Will he dip to the inside here going off into turn number 3? He will. He gets side by side with the number 2 machine going through the corner, and look at Greg Evans trying to pinch him down there to that white line, side by side. 9 laps to go here at Chicagoland.
Jenkins using every inch of pavement he can. It was Evans at the line by 2/100ths of a second that time, as Jenkins gets the run into turn number 1. Can Evans use the side draft again? Yes, he can. It's a good run on the outside through 1 and 2 there, Peter. Moved to number 2, back up front. Jenkins took a shot but ran out of time, but now lap traffic beginning to fill the windshield as well, as John Van Brellis is coming up on some traffic as well, and before too long the leaders are going to be in that. So Jenkins going back to work to try to set up another move on Greg Evans. They still come down nose to tail with just 8 laps to go.
8 more laps, 12 miles around this racetrack, and Jenkins, you can tell that Jenkins, when they're running in line with one another, he's a little bit faster, but Greg Evans knows how to hold off drivers. He's a very talented race car driver. He knows if you pinch that car down there, they will have to let off the throttle, or else they'll run into the side of you. He knows that Jenkins doesn't want to have any more contact based on the contact he's already had in this race. And Jenkins in that number 7 machine. Laps are winding down, only 7 more laps to go here on 3Y TV in the Glassdoor Brewing Dash for Cash 200. Who will take home the additional $25 in their back pocket after this one?
8 laps to go. They get stepped as they try to work their way up. Lap traffic ahead. It's Richard Fletcher in the number 43. Evans kind of hung up there in the dirty air. That's going to allow Jenkins to get a run. Evans to the bottom. Jenkins going to try to split the middle. 3 wide up the middle. Jenkins trying to get the lead. Can he make it work? Yes, he does. Oh, no! Oh, no.
And just like that, into the outside retaining wall. Second time tonight, John Jenkins has been caught up with some lap traffic and a lot of damage on that car. Also, the number 2 machine made heavy contact with the outside wall himself. Let's see this one, and it looked like a little bit of neck code on the number 2 machine of Greg Evans. And just like that, this race has turned on its head. We will have a green-white checker, but Greg, the second time tonight we have seen an accident up at the front of the field cause absolute chaos. And we're going to see it right here at the end. And you see the number 2 machine, Greg Evans, heavy contact with the outside wall. And just like that, is Mitch Brown in the position to possibly win the race? Who's going to come down pit road? These drivers still have a fresh set of tires on pit road. You see Jenkins up into the outside wall there with that onboard shot. Definitely going to be a tough break for him. I'm sure he's not going to come down and fix his damage. He's currently being scored in the 11th position. He was able to get it going straight once again. There he is, right behind the number 28 of Troy Haight. But I do expect to see some of these cars on pit road right here to come down and get fresh tires, because like I said, it's about a 2-second advantage. And Greg Evans, he makes a late lunge down pit road. Everyone coming down to get 4 fresh tires. Did Greg Evans lead that too late, Greg? He might have a black flag for pitting a little bit too late. Did he get down to the commitment cone in time? I don't know. That could definitely put the race in the hands of Mitch Brown, although the pit crews now have to do their job.
It is going to be interesting because remember, even if Greg Evans did not get the black flag, he has a lot of damage on that number 2 car. We will see how it all unfolds. Pit stops underway here. Final stop of the day. Green, white, checkered on deck. Evans rolling, so he's going to work. But man, oh man, this entire race just got turned on its head. And oh boy. Peter, are you ready?
I am ready, man. Buckle in for this one. because it is going to be an interesting finish. And remember, we got 3 attempts at a green-white checker here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. Question for the chat, if you're still here, hopefully you are, because this is about to be an epic finish. How many green-white checkers are we going to see? Just 1, 2, 3? We'll have to find out. It's going to be a crazy finish, I'm sure. With all that side-by-side action, 3 wide for the lead right there at the end, I don't think anyone is out of this one just yet. This race has definitely had its twists and turns to get to this point in time. We still have 4 more laps to go right now, and we'll have 2 more to go when we go back to green flag action here in just a little bit. But Greg, what about you? How many green-white checkers do you think we're going to see on this one? We got Jay in the chat saying 1, Aunt Kathy saying 2. What about you? What do you think?
I'm saying 2. I think something's going to happen here on this first restart, and it's not going to be pretty because I don't like the fact that we got Greg Evans and Mitch Brown both on the front row with damage. We've seen it hasn't really affected the 51, but that's going to change everything with the number 2 having the damage that he has. So I'm going to say we're going to see something here on this first green-white checker. I'm going to say 2.
We'll have to wait and see. Of course, he does have a lot of right side damage. The good thing that Greg Evans has going for him, though, Greg, is the fact that he is going to control this restart. He can go hit the pedal when he wants to as soon as the Chevy Silverado iRacing pace truck up at front can turn off onto pit road. And I do believe that that will be a pretty significant advantage. The one thing Greg Evans doesn't want, though, is to get too far out front to give the next cars behind him to get a little bit of a draft. Mitch Brown in the 51 will restart second. Jimmy McKee, how about him in third in the McKee Lawn Care number 8 machine. Brian Yazik in fourth. He started back in 39th here tonight. Alan Young in fifth. It does look like the number 7 machine of John Jenkins. He did fall 1 lap down, I do believe, fixing that damage, so it might have been some required repairs on that number 7 machine before the iRacing officials let him get back onto the racetrack. I know that is an absolute heartbreak for the points leader coming into tonight in the super clean, tough task, cleaner and degreaser Toyota. There he is. And there's your race leader. Sure tape on the hood. Needs a little bit of that sure tape to keep that right front fender from getting crinkled in. I'm sure some of his pit crew threw some of that sure tape on. And hopefully it sures his victory here before the end of it. Because I'll tell you what, that number 2 machine doesn't look all too bad, but he did smack the wall pretty darn hard, Greg. It'll be very interesting to see whether or not he can get up to speed with that race car or not.
I'm worried about the body on that number 2 because of how aero sensitive these cars are. These Cup cars with this aero package are so aero sensitive. We've seen it time and time again. I'm a little worried about him. We'll see. 2 laps might be long enough that he'll be able to defend it, but I'm not sure. This is going to be very interesting to see how it all unfolds. Greg Evans, he's got his work cut out for him on this first green-white checker.
That he does. Pace truck lights are off. We'll be going green in 1 lap from now. A bunch of cars taking the wave around, including Ed Bray, Jonathan Holstein, Pete Baskins, J.R. Bash, and the number 78 of John Van Varellis. They'll all get shown around the pace truck, trying to get some of their laps back here in hope that they can get another attempt at a green-white checker, maybe come down pit road, get some tires on, and maybe gain a few positions. But none of those drivers will end up in victory lane. I do expect to see one of the drivers in your shot right now end up in victory lane, but who knows what can happen, because if that number 2 machine is off the pace here, Greg, you and I know the field is going to stack up very, very quickly up the front.
I think this race is wide open, Peter. It's all going to depend on how that number 2 handles here, coming to take the green flag. We'll have a good idea of it when he goes off into turn number 1. We'll have a better idea off of turn 2. I think off of turn 2 is when we're going to be able to see if Greg Evans has anything or not.
We've seen the inside line so strong on the restarts, both at the start of the race and the one restart that we had earlier. We'll find out if that stays true here. The number 2 Evans brings him down slowly, But look at that restart for the number 51 of Mitch Brown, and just like that, Greg Evans off the pace with all of his damage, and the field just rushing by him. That gives the race lead to the number 51 of Mitch Evans, and big contact out back. There's a huge collision, and we will have another attempt at a green-white checker as James Lorello in the number 3 machine has gone around. A little bit of a nudge there by John Van Verellis right on the back side of that, but we have a lot of junked up race cars in the mid-pack. 4 wide there on entry, and Giese and the 3 machine getting together. Oh, Stouffer in the number 13 getting involved. Tim Knott also in the number 41. The 5, Sam Crow getting involved. That was a big melee there in the big pack, and I'll tell you what, Greg, I was a little bit concerned of that happening, and you saw just the little nudge there between the 77 and the 3. Looks like the 3 was expecting the number 77 to be a little bit lower on the racetrack, and just a little bit of a coming together right there on the restart. We'll have a second attempt at the green-white checker, and Kathy, we'll see if your number holds true. She said 2 green-white checkers in the chat, and as you ride on board with Chris Stouffer, and definitely heavy contact from the rear, sending him up into the outside retaining wall. But Greg, all of a sudden, we're going to have another chapter in this race. It seems like this race just has so many twists and turns. I don't really know how to call it right here at the end as you go on board with the number 7.
Still looking at the replays right now, and man, oh man, an unbelievable turn of events. This all started when the 2 of Greg Evans did not get up to speed, and he was trying to get out of the way. James Lorello got hooked from behind by Giese, and all of a sudden you got a big melee up in turn number 1. One more time we go on board here with Michael Whiting in the 44. You see right there, everyone breaks out. He got through with minimal contact there. Good job by Whiting to get through that and keep the damage to a minimum. But boy, Peter, this is going to change everything up front once again. Look who has climbed his way into the 2nd and 3rd positions. Jimmy McKee started 22nd, running 2nd. Brian Yazik started 39th, shotgun on the field, running 3rd right now in the number 55. Looks like they're still waiting to see perhaps where they're going to line up behind him, as Yazik is now going to catch back up to McKee and Brown. But what a story here for McKee and Yazik to be able to get up from outside the top 20 to inside of the top 3 at the end of this one.
And the race still isn't over yet, Greg. I mean, Yazik, who pretty much started shotgun, like you said, could end up going to victory lane if things go his way here in the second attempt at a green-white checker. You just don't know how it's going to go, because it is definitely going to be a fun final 2 laps or so. Troy Haight, he's going to come down pit road here in that machine. We did see Greg Evans in the number 2 come down pit road, try and get as much damage repaired as possible on that Sure Tape Chevrolet. It won't be win number 7 today for Greg Evans, but was oh so close there in the closing lap. Same for the number 7 machine of John Jenkins, comes into the night as your points leader. Won't take a huge points hit to the 2nd place machine, because that, of course, was the number 2 of Greg Evans with all of his damage. But coming into tonight, 3rd in points, the number 11 of Tyler Seville. He's up inside the top 10 and 7th. Mitch Brown, of course, could walk away with the win and $50, since he does have Glassdoor Brewing on his hood, one of the Glassdoor Brewing family drivers, and the Glassdoor Brewing Dash for Cash 200. What about Jimmy McKee? McKee Lawn Care Services on his hood to his outside. Brian Yazik, HPPSimulations.com, forward behind him. Alan Young, Young Gun Creations on the hood, and Kelsey Rogers. Folks, if you want to sponsor one of these drivers in the field, the number 34 of Kelsey Rogers, very, very fast week in, week out. Top 5 here tonight. Doesn't have a sponsor on the hood. He's looking for one. Go approach him. Go reach out to, of course, one of the drivers here in the field and say, hey, I'm interested in giving you a sponsor, because all of the drivers in the field, they have permission from the sponsors to run that sponsor. Some of these drivers actually receiving money from the sponsors and other goodies, and that man right there, Mitch Brown, trying to get $50 from his sponsor here tonight, Glassdoor Brewing. Great job by Glassdoor Brewing to come on and sponsor a couple of these races and sponsor some of these drivers, get their name out here in the sim racing community, here in the American Sim Racing Series. And now, question for the chat, will we see another green-white checker after this one, after that huge melee in the middle of the pack? Greg, what do you think? That one was pretty crazy, but do you think these drivers are going to sort it out for this green-white checker?
We'll see. We're gonna have to watch how these guys run into turn number 1 and try to make their way up into position here to try to put themselves in a spot to win this race. As Mitch Brown going to be the control car on this restart, but Jimmy McKee in second, Brian Yazik third, Alan Young fourth. We've talked about him a few times today. Good run for him into number 24. Could he steal a victory here tonight from the fourth position here on this restart? Good run for him in the 24. This is just going to be so very interesting how this race unfolds here. Should get the 1 to green this time, and it's going to be wild. It's going to be green, white, checker number 2 here at Chicagoland.
You know, I was thinking that we were going green that lap because all the drivers were lined up double file. I think they were just antsy to get back to green flag racing. They know what happened under that brief green flag period that we just had. And that can definitely cause a little bit of nerves, Craig, when you see that huge melee right in the middle of the field. All these drivers now going to have to kind of regroup to get to the finish of the race. What about that bright orange number 1 TNT Firearms machine of Jason Stewart? Comes into tonight 10th place in points. You see that bright orange number 1 right there on the right hand side of your screen. Very striking bright orange on that race car, just inside the top 10 in 9th. And Alex Giese in the number 77 right behind him in 11th. He got some damage out of that collision. Will he be able to hold on to that spot or not? We'll have to wait and find out. Sam Crow in the number 5 machine. He's in 13th. He's got a modified right now. No front bumper on that car, but Greg, pace truck about to head down pit road.
Coming to green, white, checker to 10th, number 2. Mitch Brown going to lead the charge into number 51, but he's got Brian Yazik and Jimmy McKee behind him. Alan Young ready in the catbird seat if something happens. Here we go. Green, white, checkered number 2, and Mitch Brown is off and running.
Mitch Brown got an absolute huge jump. Already got 1 win to his name this season. Maybe too big of a jump, as all these drivers behind him will start to draft up on the back bumper of that number 51 machine. They have fresh tires. They're pretty much flat out here on fresh tires. And contact between Digby and Kelsey Rogers. And here comes the aid of Jimmy McKee down to the inside, as Yazik going to try to high side on the number 51 machine. Nothing going up there just yet. McKee still trying to get around the number 55 of Yazik. They bump on one another as the white flag is in the air. That will pretty much see the end of the race. No more yellow flags from here on out. Who will take the checker flag? Mitch Brown still holding on.
McKee took a peek to the inside while Yazik looks high. Off of turn number 2 for the final time. Around goes Alan Young in the 24, and it is on from here. McKee to the outside. Here comes Yazik to the outside of Brown. They're going to need to try to set him up. They're going to go to the battle behind. They touch, and that's going to seal it for Mitch Brown.
Mitch Brown and the number 51 machine is the 55 of Yazik. Saves it coming out of the corner, but Mitch Brown with Glassdoor Brewing on the hood takes the Glassdoor Brewing Dash for Cash 200, and he is $50 richer as chaos ensues behind the start-finish line. What a crazy finish, bumping and banging on the final lap. The 55 of Yazik able to hold on to it. He is not a happy camper in that number 55 HPPsimulation.com machine, but he's going to come home in 9th. With a car that is mostly in one piece, better than ending up on the flatbed wrecker. But what could have been for Brian Yazik falling back into 9th? And how about AJ Digby in the number 14 machine? He's going to be super ecstatic here, coming home with a podium with a last lap pass to get up to 3rd. He is super stoked. And what about Jimmy McKee in the number 8 getting up into 2nd? Well, look at that finish across the start-finish line. Absolutely impressive. And Mitch Brown in the Glassdoor Brewing number 51 machine is burning it down right here on the front stretch. Got Glassdoor Brewing on the hood right there. $50 richer for him, taking home the dash for cash. And it was quite a dash at the end, Greg.
Unbelievable finish, Peter. Sprint to the line, and it's contact between 2nd and 3rd that seals it for Mitch Brown. His 2nd points-paying win of the season. Wins it at Dover, follows it up with a win here at Chicago, and he is celebrating the All-Star Showdown winner as well this year. So 3rd overall win of the year, 2nd points of the year for your defending Hacksaw PC's champion.
Man, that race absolutely twist and turn every lap. It was a stellar race to watch here on 3Y TV. This is going to be one that you're going to want to go back and watch time after time, especially here on the 3Y TV channel. There is a number 51 machine, Mitch Brown, going around the Polish victory lap with Glassdoor Brewing on the hood. If you've enjoyed this broadcast here tonight, well, don't go away, because we're going to have interviews with your top 3 finishers here tonight. I'm sure it is going to be an interesting post-race interview. And make sure to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of these ASRS Hacksaw PC's races, because they always put on a show. But we're going to step away for just a brief moment, line up those interviews for you, and get a quick word from our friends that make the American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's Premier Series possible.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the #1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and servpro.com.
All right, welcome back to the Chicagoland Speedway, where tonight's Glassdoor Brewing Dash for Cash 200 Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series race has come to a conclusion. We have interviews for you with the top 3 finishers, and I'll tell you what, it's going to be a very interesting interview session. First man is your 3rd place finisher, and it is none other but Twitter verified AJ Digby. And AJ, this is, I think, only your 3rd Hacksaw PC's Premier Series start here in a row, but you've come away with your first podium. How good does that feel to get that number 14 machine and finish P3 here tonight?
Man, it feels amazing. Very quick start to the career. Was 8th at Michigan, jumped up to 5th at Sonoma, and 3rd here. So my goal entering today was just for a top 10. I knew I didn't have the greatest long run car, but I knew I had short run speed. Showed that in qualifying, and then was able to show it there a little bit at the end. But all in all, this 14, I definitely had some speed. My turn racing sims tools machine was very fast, and wow, I still don't even know exactly how that happened there at the end, but that's why you drive hard and pray, and it ended up working out today to end up in 3rd place.
I was gonna say, this race had so many twists and turns to it. I mean, it just seemed like at the beginning of the race, you run a long green flag run, you have a caution flag come out around lap number 40. I'm sure that was about the period where you're starting to think about heading down pit road, and then you get another run with a green flag pit stop. You got different strategies going on. Just how much of a mental game was this race? Because even at the end, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it ended up being a mental game for sure. I had planned on pitting about 4 laps after that first caution happened, so that kind of worked out into the window. And then I was planning on splitting the stint right up in half, but then I thought, you know what, I did a good job of saving tires this first half of the stint, even though I did get steamrolled on the inside. I did have better tires at the end. I was running quick lap time, so I was like, I'm going to stay out an extra couple laps. That way I have tires and can make moves going forward in that second stint there at the end. And that's what I did. I ran an extra couple hard laps, ran some pretty quick times, and was able to put on tires and move through the field. Build up confidence when you pass in cars. I feel like when you're the one who's passing, it definitely helps mentally as opposed to when you're the one getting passed. So that's why I went for the overcut and was able to make that work, get some track position. Got a little bit lucky with some of the contact that happened ahead of me for me to be able to be in that situation. But all in all, you take what you can get. It's racing, and I made the move on the backstretch to get up into fourth, and then just got a little bit lucky to get up into third. And all in all, just very happy, and hopefully can continue this on into my favorite track next week.
Yeah, I was going to say, next week is Indianapolis, and if there's one thing I know about AJ Digby, that is AJ Digby's favorite track is Indianapolis. Got his first win on 3-Wide TV back at Indianapolis in another league that we used to broadcast. And AJ, just tell the fans watching right now what Indianapolis means to you.
Well, I've been to the Indy 500 every year since 2004, so I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I've been there every single year since. Been to a couple of the IndyCar road course races, and was planning on going to the Cup IndyCar doubleheader this year until fans got canceled of that. So Indianapolis is one of the closest tracks to me, and being that I'm such an Indy 500 IndyCar fan, definitely my favorite track. So hopefully I can continue this momentum and keep climbing up the grid. But all in all I want to do every week is stack up top 10s, and that's been my goal since I've started this league, and putting in all the practice time has definitely paid off, and ended up with a podium today.
Yeah, fantastic job, AJ. Before we let you go, you got any shout outs for us?
Yeah, so I did mention my turn racing sim tools. Chevy Camaro was very fast today, so got to thank all of those guys. Got to thank Kevin Vollmer, my cousin, for doing that awesome looking paint that I have. Very thankful to be able to run that paint and with those guys. And got to thank some of the Will Warsaw Racing guys. I'm friends with some of those guys. I ran for Will in one of the other leagues that I was in, so they helped me out a little bit in practice, and we were able to offset some practice costs with hosting with them. So got to thank them as well. Having people to practice with, having cars to be around definitely helps in these late race situations like this, when you're taking every inch that you can get, and having practiced that type of situation, what inches you can give. So definitely thankful to them, but ultimately this turn racing sim tools car was really fast today, and was glad to be able to put it up front.
Absolutely. Well, AJ, best of luck next week at Indianapolis. Should be a fun one. This round 6 of the Serve Pro Wheelman Showdown, and I'm sure you're hoping to get off to another top 10, finish 3 consecutive top 10s, 2 consecutive top 5s. AJ Digby, a little bit on a roll here. Best of luck next week.
Thank you very much, Peter.
All right, well, let's see if we can dial up the second place finisher. That, of course, being the number 8 machine of Jimmy McKee, the McKee Lawn Care Services machine. And Jimmy, boy, oh boy, what a crazy night. And you are able to park that number 8 machine up into second. You showed a lot of pace out there tonight, picked your battles, and towards the end, it definitely seemed like you had one of those long-run race cars trying to pick up positions. And all of a sudden, a little bit of fortuitous luck in front of you, and you end up with the second position. Tell us a little bit about your night.
Yeah, it was a pretty good night overall. About lap 2, I about spun her coming off 2. Got on the apron a little bit, I think, and almost took myself out, but luckily we were able to capitalize and still able to save tires and kind of make our way up through the field a little bit. And that first caution kind of helped us a little bit. We made up some ground on pit road, and I could tell some of the guys were really using up their tires early after that first caution, and we were able to make up some ground after that again, and then eventually working ourselves in that top 10. But it was exciting. That ending was a little chaotic, but kudos to Mitch for getting the W, and got to apologize to Brian Yazik for getting into him a little bit in turn 3 on that last lap. He and Mitch were, I don't know the whole scenario, I can't remember it, but it pushed Brian up a little bit, and then I dove into 3 just to try to grab another position, and I touched him a little bit. But hats off, it was a good run.
Yeah, an absolute crazy race, and I kind of asked this to the number 14 of AJ Digby. You know, these races, definitely a little bit of a mental game, and especially here tonight, you know, with how much side-by-side action we saw pretty much all race long. There was some battle going on the racetrack, whether it was for the lead, mid-pack, whatever. You know, was there something about this racetrack that kind of led to it be crazy? It seemed like all night long. I'm looking outside for a full moon or something, because it just seemed like things were ramped up here a little bit tonight.
I feel like it was who saved tires and who didn't, and who was kind of saving and not saving. It just kind of made the cars feel a little different depending on what kind of driver you were. Like I felt like I saved. I know my teammate and Kelsey and I, we were saving those first 6, 7 or so laps, and then slowly the other cars in front of us would start coming back to us, and we were able to pass them with a little bit of ease, but you know, we were still able to battle. But you know,
well, all in all, a pretty spectacular night. This is definitely going to be one of those races that I'm going to remember for quite some time here in the American Sim Racing Series, Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. But before we let you go, next week, Indianapolis. What are your thoughts about Indianapolis? And definitely gives us some shout outs.
I love Indianapolis. I'm from Kokomo, Indiana, which is an hour north of the track. My family and I go there, or we used to go there when I was still living in Indiana every year. So it's a track very dear to my heart. It may not be the most racy type of track, but it's still fun to run around. So hopefully we can have a good run out there.
Yeah, very much looking forward to it. Of course, Kokomo, home of Kokomo Speedway, one of the coolest racetracks that are out there. But Jimmy, any further shout outs?
Just shout out to McKee Lawn Care, Finbay from Missouri, needs a lawn cut. I'm here. But just shout out to you all for the broadcast. Broadcasts are awesome. Our sponsors, Glassdoor, Hacksaw, happy to have them with our series. And this Dash for Cash thing is pretty cool. Unfortunately, we didn't get to grab the cash, but maybe Mitch will buy me a gallon of chocolate milk or something with his win. That'd be pretty cool. And shout out to Jim and Sam for being our admins. They do a lot of job behind the scenes. So thank them.
Absolutely. It's going to be an interesting week in the American Sim Racing Series, your driver chat. Hopefully it all goes well, but congratulations, Jimmy. Good luck next week at Indy.
Appreciate it. Thanks all. Thank you all.
All right, and that is just about going to do it, but hold on. Don't go anywhere, because we have your race winner, the number 51 of Mitch Brown, already $50 richer. And Mitch, you've been challenged by Jimmy McKee to get him a gallon of chocolate milk, but you can do whatever you please with the $50 that you won here tonight in the Glassdoor Brewing Dash for Cash 200. Crazy race. Tell us a little bit about it, because you had a little bit of damage, you had a little bit of contact, you had cars wrecking around you. What a crazy night.
Yeah, it was very crazy. No, our race was pretty good. You know, we just kind of just wanted to play it by ear, like we always do with these kind of races. That second, I think there was second set of tires, or I can't remember which one. The one where I went to the front, I forgot what it was. We wanted to see how it was in clean air, and it kind of helped us a little bit. So I figured, you know, let's burn a little bit off our tires and try to get some clean air. Maybe, you know, we can hold off these guys behind us. But no, it was, God, it's so crazy. I feel bad for Greg, and I feel bad for John, because they were, those two guys, and Craig Stikes, those three guys were definitely the class of the field tonight.
Yeah, very, very fast, but unfortunately had a little bit of luck go their way. But for you, that was fortunate, because you ended up, of course, taking the lead right there at the end. When you saw that the number 2 machine had all that damage next to you, were you thinking he was going to be as off the pace as he was? Did you think you were in the catbird position at that point?
I honestly didn't know. I didn't, you know, he queued up in race chat and said that he had some engine damage and he was just going to stay low and hold the bottom. So, I mean, the damage must have been significant enough, because when we went on the restart, he went and then just boop, parachute. So it must have been pretty bad. But I do feel bad for Greg. You know, he's really the class of the field in this series, and You know, it is what it is. You know, we'll take the wins when we can get them.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start using that boop parachute effect here on the 3-Wide TV broadcast. But Mitch, next week we have Indianapolis Motor Speedway, of course, the famed 2.5-mile Indianapolis. Definitely going to be an interesting race, much different than what we saw tonight at the 1.5 mile Chicagoland Speedway. Are you a fan of Indy?
Are we going to Indy next week? I don't know.
Yeah, it's Indy next week. It's round 6 of the Surf Pro Wheelman Showdown at Indianapolis.
All right. I don't mind Indy. It's not that bad. It's one of those tracks where you gotta start up front, and especially with this kind of car, it's like it is so hard to pass, especially like 10, 15, 20 laps in a run, and you know I mean, shit, it showed it in last year's real race on the last restart. I mean, it's you know, the leader has such a big advantage. You know, he could pull out. It just, you know, you could be faster and nothing. It's just, so it's gonna be one of those races where you're gonna want to start up front and you know, just try to hold on as best you can.
Well, start practicing those qualifying laps now because, like we said, 1 week from tonight, same place, same time, right here on 3-Wide TV, we got to round 6 of the Surf Pro Wheelman Showdown. But Mitch, before we let you go, I know you got some shout-outs because you are $50 richer, and you got to give Glassdoor Brewing a pretty big shout-out because you got a little bit padded wallet here tonight.
Thank them. I gotta thank Glassdoor Brewing for sponsoring us. You know, they came out on us mid-season, and you know, we didn't have the success we wanted to the first time out with this car, the first couple times out with this car, but you know, kind of helps to win the home race for the home race for Jay Crable. I got to give a shout out to Patriot Media Market Services, Checker Flag PCs, Splash and Go Graphics. I also, I'm not sure, but if you heard earlier today, I did tell Jay that I did tell him that I said I was going to win this race. So I mean, I called my shot and I had to back it up. So I guess you owe me one, Jay. You owe me one.
Well, victory lane for the number 51, second win of the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, and the reigning Hacksaw PC's Premier Series champion, Mitch Brown. Best of luck next week at Indianapolis, buddy. All right, well, that is your top 3 finishers here tonight. Let's see if we can dial up tonight's final rundown, because if you watched the final rundown with about 2 laps to go, it looked completely different right at the end. Mitch Brown taking the win. Jimmy McKee coming home second. AJ Digby, third start in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, gets a 3rd position. Great run for him. Tyler Seville comes into tonight up 3rd place in points. It's going to be a pretty good points night for Tyler Seville, closing in on the top 2 after Jenkins and Evans have their troubles. Kelsey Rogers rounds out your top 5. Jason Stewart sporting the new paint scheme on that number 1 machine, coming home in 6th. Will Worcester coming home in 7th. He had an up-down night with a little bit of a rebound right there at the end. Adam Jariski, we didn't talk about his cheesecakes here tonight, but whatever cheesecake he was making, he did pretty good because it's an 8th place run for the number 69 machine. Brian Yazik, after that late slide on the final lap, drops all the way back to 9th. Great job by Yazik to save that number 55 machine from spinning around. Tony Schoen in the number 33 machine. How about that, folks? Tony Schoen came into tonight battling for the 20th spot in points. He comes home with a top 10, which will definitely help his chances of being pre-qualified into the next event. Alex Giese, good run for him. I mentioned earlier in the race, he's only had 2 top 20s coming into tonight. He has his best finish of the season in the number 77 machine with an 11th place run. Michael Krobach started on the outside pole, coming home in 12th. Christopher Bouchard, 13th. Woody Mahan, 14th. Chris Hughes, quiet night for that number 22 machine, but able to get himself a top 15 finish through all of those late race melees. Richard Stallings, he had damage early in that number 17 machine. He also quiet night. I think it was probably that damage that prevented him from making his way up through the field. You usually see Richard Stallings at some point near the front of the field, but he comes home 16th. John Van Varellis comes home 17th after staying on the lead lap late, getting around your race leaders. to stay on that lead lap. After a couple cautions, he was able to come home 17th. Michael Whiting 18th, Jonathan Holstein 19th, and Troy Haight rounding out your top 20. That's a tough break for Troy Haight. Had a pretty solid night going till right there at the end. J.R. Bash in the number 4 machine comes home 21st. John Broussard 22nd. That's a tough break for him. Also had a lot of pace in the early half of the race. Same thing for Greg Evans. Had that late race collision with 3 wide with himself. The 7 of John Jenkins and the number 43 of Richard Fletcher going wrong. Comes home 23rd. Edward Bray 24th. Sam Crow 25th. He did not have a bumper at the finish. Alan Young, one of the other drivers who had a great race going. Not the finish he was hoping for here tonight. James Zarello, first car, 1 lap down in that number 3 machine, excuse me. Pete Baskins in the number 27 machine comes home 28th. John Jenkins 29th, 1 lap down. Grant Brown, first car, 2 laps down in the 30th position. 31st does go to the number 76 of John Gallagher, who had to battle through some adversity here tonight. Tim Knott had damage pretty much on lap number 1 in the number 41 machine, wasn't able to rebound from that, finishing 32nd. Chris Stouffer 33rd, that number 13. Expected a good showing from him tonight, involved in that late race accident. Richard Fletcher 34th. Jay Crable pulled off the racetrack in the number 87 machine. He finished down in 35th with the Glassdoor Brewing number 87. Todd Kirkwood had some troubles on the backstretch. Not 100% sure what happened there with Todd Kirkwood, but he finished in 36th. Doug Mullins 37th. Craig Stykes 38th. The number 18 and 57, so strong early in the race. Bradley and Cody Spiker round out your 40-car grid here tonight in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series Glassdoor Brewing Dash for Cash 200. But next week, we do have round number 6 of the Surf Pro Wheelman Showdown. It will be the Brickyard 200 from the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Very much looking forward to that one here on 3Y TV. I'm Peter Short, Greg Rentz, and of course, Carlos Acosta, who has manned all these cameras here tonight. I want to wish each and every one of you a good night, best of luck, stay safe, and all of that good jazz, because we can't wait to see you right back here for some more action. And after tonight's race, it is going to be a fun and exciting race next week. But until then, we wish you a good night. See ya!